Okay, welcome to the San Mateo County Coastside Design Review Committee meeting. This Design Review Committee, as established in the zoning regulations, is appointed by the Board of Supervisors. Today is Thursday, June 9th, 2022. This hearing consists of 3 projects. This meeting is being audio recorded. There are 2 opportunities for the public to speak, including oral communications for matters not on the agenda and a separate public comment session for each project on the agenda. Please review agenda to identify which item you wish to speak on and the time of that item. The chair will open public comment sessions during the public comment period and for each item on the regular agenda. I will first read comments received before meeting into the record. Then I will ask those members of the public who wish to comment to click the raise hand feature to raise your hand to speak on that agenda item. For those joining by phone, please press *9 to indicate your desire to speak. Please note that members of the public must wait for my prompt in connection with each agenda item before using the raise hand function. For example, you cannot raise your hand at the beginning of the meeting for an agenda item that's later in the meeting. When you hear your name or last 4 digits of your phone number called, I'll prompt you to unmute your account and inform you that you may begin speaking. I will then ask you to state your name, address, email address for the record. For those joining by phone, press *6. We'll mute or unmute your microphone. The Design Review Committee's decision for item 1 and 2 today, if any, will be only recommendations regarding project compliance and will not be the final decision on the project, the decision of which will take place at a later date. The Design Review Committee's decision for item 3, if any, are available to the Planning Commission within 10 working days by filing an appeal and paying the applicable filing fee. If you would like to file an appeal, please contact the project planner whose email is listed on the agenda under their respective project. The appeal will be accepted by 5 p.m. on June 23rd, 2022. Depending on the scale and scope of changes, continued projects may be placed on the next month's agenda if revisions are submitted to the county by the end of business day, June 17, 2022. Applicants should note that continuous letters may not be available by that day and are encouraged to take notes of the committee's feedback. And then next thing I'm going to do is to take a roll call. Katie Kostyuk.
Here.
Rebecca Ketkin.
Oh, Rebecca.
She's not on the screen anymore.
Yeah, I think she got disconnected. Should we? Now I'll continue, and after I call all the names, and now we may give her a few more minutes to reconnect.
I'll text her and see what's going on.
Okay. And Beverly Garrity.
Here.
Doug Machado. Mark Stackmeyer.
Here.
Linda Patterson. Okay, now present. John Statman. Now present. And so I've called on all CDRC members, and now we are just currently waiting for Rebecca to reconnect.
So she said that she got kicked and she's trying to rejoin right now.
Oh, okay. Not
So
sure.
I told her to let me know if she has trouble getting back in.
Okay. I'll keep my eye on the waiting room, and I will promote her to panelist as soon as she joins this meeting.
So she said she is having trouble getting back in. I asked her what's happening. I'll try to call her and see if I can help. Hang on a
Thank
second.
you. Thank you very much, Katie.
Is it possible to proceed and then do a roll call for her when she arrives?
Okay, I think we could do that.
Okay.
So with that, I turn it over to the chair.
Okay, I'll just go through the AB 361 resolution, finding that as a result of the continuing COVID-19 pandemic, state of emergency declared by Governor Newsom, meeting in person for meetings of the Coastside Design Review Committee would present imminent risk to the health or safety of attendees. We need to take a roll call to approve that for this meeting.
And now my question is whether we should wait for Rebecca to come.
I think we have a quorum. Do we have a
Okay.
quorum for the CDRC?
We have 3.
Okay.
I think we need 4.
Oh, I see.
Giants are still ahead 2-1.
So she's having trouble reconnecting. She's gonna try to sign on from a different device, I think.
Okay.
Just wanted to keep you guys in the loop.
That would be a quorum. Then.
Yeah, I think between Beverly, myself, and Mark, for now, we have a quorum. I know that for item number 2, there wouldn't be because I need to recuse myself.
Okay, since we have 3 people, so now it's a quorum, right?
Well, I think the CDRC quorum is different than the item quorum.
Okay.
CDRC quorum would be 4.
4,
Yeah.
okay.
Sorry.
Okay, so Rebecca said she's going to continue to try. She's trying to log in from a different device right now. She said if you've got a quorum for now and you want to continue, go ahead. And I just told her to text me if she continues having problems.
I'm checking the CDRC. Oh, there she is. There
Okay.
she is.
Hi,
Okay,
Rebecca.
I'm back for now.
Yay, woohoo, success.
Thank you.
Great. All right, so we just read the AB 361 resolution
Did I miss roll call here?
and roll call. So if you say yay to roll call and then
Yay,
Okay.
yay to the AB 361 resolution,
yay.
resuming. Yeah, we can continue. All right, I'll go through this chair report pretty quickly. So based on what Mark has mentioned about his COVID symptoms, I think I might be testing after this meeting.
Yeah,
Is it
Good.
It's really going around.
it's kind of raging everywhere, especially the mid coast. I don't know if you guys saw that article, but I won't say that.
Yeah, it is, does it. Well, I just returned from Europe and I was fine until
You talked to Mark.
until I talked to Mark, yeah. All right, okay, so the chair report, as you can see, is only 2 pages because of all the updates. The update status that we received at our last meeting. So all the other information is that was in the appendices, and the backburnered projects are now in the archives. And the only thing about demonstration of story poles that I thought to keep is that the status, which is important, that was reported that the Planning Commission has dropped the story pole ordinance from the 2022 long range work plan. So we need to just keep in mind what to reference when we're considering the requirement or the documentation about story poles.
Does that go back to highly recommended?
Pardon me, it's highly recommended that there be some representation of scale.
A quick question about that for Camille. So since it's not on the long range planning for 2022, do you know if that's being added to long range planning for 2023, or is it still sort of up in the air right now?
It's up, yeah, I don't think we know what's in the plan for 2023 yet. But what Beverly just said is so long as there's some demonstration of scale, which is what we have now. So we wouldn't need to pass any amendment to the zoning if, unless specifically we wanted to require story poles.
Well, I think we all agreed that we do want to require story poles. That's what we've all been pushing for. But our understanding is that based on how the county process goes, we're sort of like kind of an advisory committee that we would be giving our opinion on that, but it still has to go through all of the normal public outreach efforts, et cetera, in order to get anything actually changed so that it would, if it were to ever become a requirement, that's what we would have to go through, right?
Yes. Yeah, I don't know about, we don't have a set plan for 2023 yet, so hard to tell at this point.
So what might help is if we received another copy of that May 28th, 2020 doc. That was published.
Well, and one question I have about that is if we do want to make sure that this stays on the radar, how do we go about doing that? To who do we talk to or who will advocate for us? I know that Ramel was the one that was previously trying to make sure that that got into the long range planning efforts. How do we make sure this doesn't just fall off the radar?
You guys can email Melissa Ross, who's the long range planning services manager, who sets the draft work plan prior to the planning commission's review of it.
And that
When
would,
does that happen?
March 2023, is it? That's the meeting, but the submissions need to be in, that's part of the email, I guess. We'd have to find out when they have to be submitted.
Yeah, maybe towards the end of the year would make sense.
Okay, thanks.
Camille, do we have the May 28th, 2020 doc available? That could be.
Forgot the, I think, is it, where was that stored? Let me see here. Do we recall how it was? Oh, is it work? You mean the work plan, the design, the story pole work plan?
No, the original document was,
Well, no, the updated
went through a
ordinance.
pre-modification.
Oh, the
Just for
actual
usage.
policy document that you
Yes,
drafted?
yes.
Okay, I'd have to look at it. I have to look for it.
Yeah,
rather.
I
I'm
think
pretty
it
sure
was a
Ramel,
draft that you presented to us, and
I think it was a work plan though. It wasn't actually like a policy draft.
that was later.
Okay.
But the current actual story poll document that's given
Oh.
to applicants.
Like basically the document of whatever the policy is right now, because I know
Oh,
you
yeah,
guys had
that's
to,
online.
yeah,
Sorry.
you guys had to
I-
revise that because of the language.
It's online.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's online. Sorry, I wasn't sure what we were talking about.
It's online where?
Yeah, I can share a
Um,
link with everyone here.
Thank you. It's on the design review webpage under demonstration of scale policy, I believe.
Okay,
All right, I
it
have a really
here.
loud keyboard.
I have the web page here, and I will share it with everyone. You can find the link in chat.
Find the link in chat, or would you mind emailing that to CDPC, and I'll.
Sure,
I'll
I can do it later.
That would be great.
Okay,
Thank you.
no
All
problem.
right, thanks a lot, Glenn. All right, the design standards update. So we'll be proceeding with that right after the nomination activity after this chair report. All right, the CDRC positions. Doug Machado has applied for the El Granada rep position. Status on that?
He's been appointed.
Okay.
He's been appointed and we've opened up the recruitment for the alt rep for El Granada.
Okay,
Well, too bad he's not here for us to congratulate him.
yeah.
Yes.
Okay. The quorum and Project Review Subcommittee. We just needed a clarification on those two items. You, Glenn and Camille were going to give us that clarification.
Yeah, so regarding the first one, give me one moment. Let me read it. So in a scenario where it does not have.
So the question was, is it a rep or an alt rep who lives closest?
Okay, so we have written language there, and now we may be able to share it with CDRC later. So what it says is when there's no community representative, main or alternate, the nearest community representative can fill the spot. So we just look at the location. We choose the nearest out rep or main rep.
All right, would you send that in that email again? In that email with the link, and I'll pop that in there.
Yes, I can talk to Camille and then finalize the language. After that, we should be able to
I
send
think
that.
we can share it. We can share it, Glenn.
We can share it now.
Yeah.
Okay, we have the language, and now I will share it after this meeting.
That's great. In the scenario where there's, so we're basically getting rid of these two and just making one statement, right? Is that correct?
Can you state your question again? Sorry.
We're basically getting rid of 1 and 2, and we're making a single statement.
Yes, and now I can send that statement to you in an email.
All right, that's great. All right. So new residential construction, you were just going to verify the total ADU count on the coast side.
Yes, we're keeping tracking of all the building permit issuance for dwelling units, including ADUs. And so our plan is to update the numbers monthly, and now we're well below number 40. And yeah, so that's an update. And if you need a specific number, we can talk after this meeting, and I'll be happy to provide the information you need.
So just looking for the total ADU count on the coast side.
Okay, the ADU count. Okay.
Right, so you can
have-
put that in the email too, if you want.
Is that not captured in your report already?
It's not.
Because
It's
on the
not.
chair report, it's showing it's
Yeah, last
itemized.
time I provided.
Yeah,
the
that's just
number.
2018 to 2022.
What year do you need?
Oh, the total ADU count on the coast side.
Like ever?
Okay.
Do we?
Yeah, I don't think we would have that number, Beverly, because a lot of them were built, some of them were built and they were legal ADUs before even the ADU ordinance was passed. We'd have to
It'll be
go
very
back
difficult.
decades. Yeah,
So
the
the
Tampa?
reason for that was the new ADUs are included in the annual limit, and they're limited to 466 in the coastal zone.
Right.
So that's why that question came up.
466 ever.
ADUs.
Like,
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
that
So-
may not, that may not still be law. So we'll check with Glenn, we should check with Will whether there's still like an absolute cap to ADUs on the coast. I'm guessing there
Yeah.
can't be, there shouldn't be.
Yeah, I
Oh,
will check with
okay.
the Orange Planning section and to see if that cap is still applicable. And if it's still applicable, then now I'll update the CDRC and provide information that CDRC may need.
Great.
And I have a feeling actually that the 2021 numbers, we might need to look at those again, Glenn, because the
Yes.
19 multifamily units might have counted the same units that you and I found. So I think we need to relook at 2021 as well.
Yeah, I have looked at it, and I will talk about that with you later in
Okay,
a separate
okay,
meeting.
yeah,
And
sounds good.
once we have a final number verified or a final update, then we can share with the group at that.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Thanks, you guys. All right, planning inspection requests. I put that in there because there's a new policy. And it's just a statement of the new policy.
Okay.
And Glenn, you were going to take a look at the anonymity policy regarding protecting those who were reporting complaints.
Yes, Camille and I work on this, and I think Camille will cover this topic.
Okay. We discussed that the complainant's name is for the most part redacted if available to the public. So say if you go into our permit system and there's a document showing the original complaint form, that information will be redacted going forward, and we will look back at past cases to make sure that they're appropriately redacted. We checked with county council on whether, so we know that in most cases for PRAs, the name of the complainant, sorry, Public Records Act requests, the name of the complainant on the complaint form is always redacted. However, we cannot say for 100% of the time that the complainant's name will never be revealed, as county council holds a particular exemption for that, for cases when release of the complainant's name somehow serves better the purpose of transparency than redacting. So county council is, discourages us from saying the name will never be revealed, but in most all instances, almost all across the board, the complainant's name is redacted.
Okay, I'm just going to report that status. I don't know that because it's not in all cases that will give the public comfort to be able to report. But
Yeah,
Oh,
that's just the
I'll note that.
situation.
yeah. All right, that is the end of the chair report, and I think everybody in attendance today got my email. And it's on the agenda for us to nominate a new chairperson for CDRC. So I'd like to go ahead and nominate actually both Katie and Rebecca as co-chairs, if you'd like to share the role. I'm not sure how you feel about it, if you're interested.
So I've given that some thought. I do feel like, familiarity, with the committee is definitely helpful. And obviously the architects are present for all of the meetings. However, that said, my thought on this is that it would be the best scenario if it was actually a community member or a community representative. Mainly for the reason that the architects have to serve on every review. So there's already a pretty big time commitment that's involved. And so if there's a way for a community representative to be able to take that part of the administrative side of things, that would be nice, because obviously as design professionals, we're already committing to every single meeting and reviewing every single project. And then a lot of the time we end up having to either write or assist with writing the findings as well. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, Rebecca. I know that we're both, very busy professionals. Definitely appreciate the vote of confidence though, Beverly. But yeah, we've only got one other community rep that's here right now too.
Yeah, I am not really sure what the extent of additional responsibilities is that comes with being chair, but I'm not in a place where I can take on additional responsibilities.
Camille, do you have a suggestion as to how to proceed?
I think you can nominate Mark. I mean, I was just thinking of which community members are the most consistent in attending meetings and being involved, and that would definitely be Beverly and Mark, and Beverly's already chair and stepping down as chair, so that leaves Mark.
Doug may be interested.
Oh, and Doug may be interested as well, yes.
So how do we put that out there?
I think we can.
Doug.
Pardon me?
I nominate Doug Machado. Second.
I don't know if we can nominate somebody who's not here. Mark, would you be comfortable with being an interim chair until we can try to see if we can get all of the current community reps to attend the next meeting, perhaps?
I'm sorry, I have to respectfully decline. I'm just swamped. I can't even keep up with my own work.
Yeah, yeah, we know the feeling.
I know. But, why don't we all think about it? And come back next week with something, or over emails. Maybe there's a way to trade it off and
Is
on.
there a way to do this over email, Camille?
No, I don't think so.
It can be discussed over email, can it not?
Probably not, because it's an agendized item for nomination of the chair. So we should keep the discussions to a public setting. But I think we can table it. And in the meantime, if because Beverly has expressed needing to have more time for other aspects of her life, I think what we can do is just Beverly, I mean, as chair, put together the chair reports. And that's just in terms of the duties that won't be done in the interim until we find a chair. I think we could just put those duties on pause, because I don't want to further burden Beverly until when we can catch up in the next, when we do have a chair, in the next chair report with some of the items that are critical in documenting.
So it would be okay to not have a chair report for next month?
Yeah, they're not required. I think they're
I'll,
just a tool to help us, to help you all figure out sort of like what you discussed, what progress was made, what
Yeah.
decisions were made.
Okay,
I'll update this chair report for today and then leave that for next month's record.
okay. And then maybe what we can do is when we send out, the availability notifications, Glenn, when you send that out, or maybe it's good to actually do something now. If you can send something out to all of the current community reps, just basically everybody who's on the current roster, and ask if it's possible to have as many people in attendance for the next meeting so that we can try to, see who might be able to help with this. That would be good. Because
Okay,
I think a lot of times community reps are going to only come to the hearing if they actually have an item in their community.
okay.
Thank you.
That's a good idea.
Sorry.
Okay. All right, so we're on to our next agenda item, which is discussion of previously established goals for design review regulations update.
Do we need to take comment on items not on the agenda?
Well, we could flip that. We might want to flip that as
Yeah.
a matter of course, Glenn. Let's take oral communications. If there's anyone in the public. Is that what you're referring to, Camille?
Yeah, just so
Okay.
they
Yeah.
wouldn't have to wait till the end of that. hour.
Right. If there's anyone from the public who'd like to address the CDRC on any matter not on the agenda.
Okay, sounds good. Per the chair, we're now opening public comments for oral communications for matters not on the agenda. If your hand is raised, your name will be called for this item. I'll lower your hand after you speak. Those joining by telephone can press *9 to raise and unraise your hand. Press *6 will mute or unmute your microphone once you are given permission to speak. I don't see any raised hands. I'll give people 5 more seconds. Okay. I don't see any raised hands for speaking on oral communications. For those on Zoom, are there any other persons who wish to speak? If so, I will provide a few more seconds in case there are any other that would like to raise their hand to speak on this item.
And we can also
Yes.
ask Maureen to identify herself.
Yeah, I don't see a hand raised. Okay, I see it. Okay, Maureen, please accept this request. Please accept this request, unmute your microphone and begin speaking. Please begin by stating your name, address, and email address for the record.
There we go. Hi, I'm Maureen McAvoy, and my address is 355 Nevada Avenue in Moss Beach. And I am here to participate in the discussion topic about the building permit and design review for 379 Nevada, which is right next door to my fence. And what else did you want to know, Glenn?
Marina, are you wanting to discuss a particular project?
Yes, I am. The one at
Oh,
379 Nevada.
Right, okay, that will come up during the
That's-
project review.
That's what I thought. Yeah, I didn't think you wanted to hear from me yet.
Yes, not quite yet. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you. Mhm.
Okay, so you can
Standing
raise your
by.
hand at a time the item comes. Okay, so yeah, there are no more raised hands. Beverly, please indicate if you would like to close public comment.
I would, yes.
And should we do a roll call here?
No roll call is needed. So we're on to discussing the previously established goals for design review regulation. I'll pass this over to Camille.
Okay. So the last time we discussed the design review standards update, I believe we left off at, which is, I should explain for members of the public in attendance, that the CDRC is going through the current design review standards for the Mid-Coast, page by page, and and staff is annotating their comments so that we'll collect all their comments on the complete design standards, and that which will formulate staff's kind of goals in terms of updating this document, which has been a long running goal of this committee. So it's just collecting their comments essentially, and then there'll be a larger public process for the ordinance update overall. So where we left off last time was daylight.
Streams and other drainage, I think.
I think it was here, since Katie said discuss this section next time. Is that right?
I think it was streams and other drainage.
Oh. Is that later in the document or earlier in the document?
Wait a minute.
Got my markup, and for some reason I don't. Let's see if we get to that page.
Streams and
Grading, streams and other drainage is early.
I think that's, oh, it is earlier.
I don't know
Is
why
there a
all of
question
my,
you had about this? Because we can still discuss it.
Ridge lines.
I just don't-
View Gardens.
We
Ridge lines, skylines and view gardens was something which was to be continued. D. Yeah, we were there.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my last. Is
Okay.
that, would you agree?
I'm trying to find the markup that I did because I know I have it and sent it to Camille
Yeah,
and Glenn.
this is it.
Yeah,
This is your markup.
yeah, I was trying to pull mine up too. Just
Oh,
to-
okay, just to make sure.
Yeah, but I can't find it for some reason.
I mean, we could go back. It's several pages that we're rediscussing, without a note that says we needed to go back.
What did you think we needed to
Except-
still discuss, Beverly?
I'm not sure. That's just where my papers were stuck. It says, there is a little yellow note in there that says rediscussion for some reason.
Okay.
That,
Well, this is for the daylight plan. This is really where I think that it was left off last time.
okay.
So I looked briefly at the comments, and it's very straightforward in terms of what needs to be done, like say this is redundant. So these are really good comments. So you all wanted to discuss the particular standards regarding the combined length on any building side does not exceed 40% of the length of that building side, and the height of such feature does not exceed 24 feet. I can't say that this comes up very often. And it's under daylight planes, so the whole thing is optional, which I have to say most applicants do not choose daylight plane. They choose facade articulation, but you've called that redundant and you've scratched it out. So I guess I just had some questions about that.
Yeah, so I think when we were talking about it last time, we felt that facade articulation is being used in lieu of daylight plane almost all the time, like you mentioned. And I think what we had all been, it seemed like, in agreement about last time with that is that daylight plane is pretty important. One of the things that was an issue that I know that we didn't agree with was that the daylight plane was being allowed to be measured from either both side property lines or the front and rear. And with the idea of daylight being so important, particularly with solar being required and the county going to an all-electric ordinance, I think that the daylight plane becomes really critical. So making sure that we are actually like protecting the light for neighboring properties. So that was my opinion on that when we were discussing it last time, is that I don't think facade articulation should be an option in lieu of daylight plane. I think the wall articulation is covered to help break down the scale of the massing, and that the facade articulation ends up being kind of a little bit redundant.
I agree that wall articulation and facade articulation feel kind of redundant, and and that it might be clearer to address the facade articulation issues just in a separate section.
Yeah, so the facade articulation parts of it, those, if there are parts of it that we find value in the language in this section, we might want to suggest that those move over to the wall articulation section. But my opinion is that daylight plane should be enforced for all projects. It should not be an option.
Okay.
But that's just me. So I don't know what everybody else on the committee thinks, because obviously these are going to just be our recommendations for how we think the guidelines should be updated, and those will be, you know, taken into account with all other public comment during those outreach efforts.
Well, A and B allows it to be a more objective measure. Facade articulation becomes more subjective.
Well, that's why I was thinking like those parts A and B, those could be something that move over. We can suggest that facade articulation be more specific and easier to quantify or enforce. But I think it should be in addition to daylight plane still being applied.
Okay. Daylight plane is a little more trickier, like technically, because of this 40%, 60%, that the CDRC actually hasn't had much practice with. So I don't know that we can have, that the CDRC has any feedback on these percentages at this time, but I've registered the comment that it's important to preserve sunlight. I just think I should put that in there.
Yeah, I mean, I know that going solar is sort of a big initiative anyway, that everybody feels, you know, is an added value for, you know, just green building. But because we have an all electric ordinance now, that's really important.
Yep. Okay, got it. Okay.
Well, do we want to maybe talk about these combined lengths and what everybody thinks about that? These sort of exceptions to the daylight plane?
Dormers, gables, and other architectural features located in the center 60% of the house may extend into the angled portion of the daylight plane. Okay, so that's pretty easy to, so they can't be on the outer 40, let's say. They have to be in the inner 60% of the house.
Yeah, so this part A, if it has to be in the center 60% of the house, then the remaining amount can only be 40%. But then
Yeah.
it says the combined length. Okay, so the combined length can't exceed 40%, but it has to be in the 60%. Center 60%.
No, I think what it's saying is dormers, gables, and architectural features are within the center 60% of the house. Well, this
But they can't be
40%.
60%. Yeah, they have to be 40% or less of the length of that building side.
Well, no, this is a 40%. So this is the 60%, which pertains to 60% of the house, the center 60. And then this has to do with 40% of the length of that building side.
Right. So the 60% is the location that the dormer is allowed to be in. And then the 40% is the allowable length of the dormer, right? What's confusing about that is 60-40 sounds like they're in relation to each other, but I don't think they are based on how
No,
it's
they're
written.
not. They're talking about different things.
Yeah.
Yeah. The combined length on any building side does not exceed 1%.
And
I think it's confusing here. I think this meant parcel. I think it, like the combined length on any building side does not exceed 40% of the length of that building side, which makes no sense because you're talking about.
Yeah, the way I'm reading that is that if you've got one elevation, like let's say it's the left side elevation, that elevation, you could have like 4 dormers that are spaced across that elevation. Don't forget to watch
Oh,
your
it's still
hands.
talking about, okay. I got it. It's still talking about the dormers, gables, and architectural features.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
got it. I
yeah.
get
So
it.
when you add them all up, then
Ah,
they can't exceed 40% of the length of that one side.
okay, I get it. And then the combined length on any building side does not exceed 30% of the length of that building side. So it's either,
Those are in conflict with each other.
is it like
no,
an,
no, they're not. One is saying 30% at 28 feet high and 40% at 24.
so they're
feet high.
or, are they like or, like pick which one works best for your project?
Yeah, it seems
So
like
we
it
need to
should
order
actually
here.
say one of the following. I think that's kind of overly complicated to have 2 options that aren't very different from each other, but I'm not sure. What does the rest of the committee think?
Well, I think if
So
it's
what was
confusing
the
to us,
purpose
it's gonna
of
be
it?
confusing to the public.
Yeah, like if it's confusing to the committee members and the planners, then I think that already is identifying that there's a problem with the language. My opinion is that if we're going to have conditions where dormers are allowed to, encroach into that daylight plane, I think if we're going to do something that makes sense, it should be related to the solar orientation of the project.
Yeah, like there's no reference to north, south, east, west.
Yeah, and that seems
Yeah.
like that is the most relevant factor of something that's intended to protect daylight for adjacent properties, right?
Yeah. So it needs to be specific to direction of,
No shade cast, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think we necessarily have to figure out what it would be, but as
And-
far as recommendations go, I would say that maybe we need to, only allow those daylight plane intrusions to be, maybe they're, in specific sides, like just on the north side or, somewhere where there's going to be less impact.
Or just limited, I mean, maybe this is what the 60%, 30%, 40% is about, but just limited in size. Like I know in San Francisco, dormers are just limited to 8 feet by 8 feet and it's much clearer.
Mhm.
yeah, I have to say the daylight, this is the first time I've seen this, and the daylight plan is part of a lot of different, oh, you know what we should look at is daylight plane of these S17, like, for example. Let me look at that really quick. Because this language is not familiar to me. So in the S17,
And then this one actually has a daylight plane that's mentioned here. It says the daylight plane shall be measured from the setback line at existing grade upward a vertical distance to 20 feet and then
Yeah.
inward.
okay, that's why it
This is
tracks the S17.
conflicting. Is it the same?
It tracks the S17.
Okay,
So we can't change this essentially without changing that.
right.
So we can just say refer to the S17 for, we don't have to craft this language. So this is straight from the S17.
So is this other section about the 40%, 60%, 30%, is that all in the S17 also?
Yeah, let me share my screen.
Okay.
Is the S17 a more recent?
They kind of go hand in hand. I mean, they're both
Yeah.
part of the zoning regulations. That design
I think the
rewrite.
S17 is actually older than, because we have recently updated our design standards to certify them with the planning commission.
Oh, they have the same.
Same language, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, either way, I think, you know, we're amending the zoning. So if we amended in one place, I would say we amended in both, right? Is that more difficult?
I think we were planning to do some cleanup, but then that opens up FAR, that opens up, you know, I think we just have to be limited in terms of the focus of this project.
So we could keep that the same, but just basically that's going to be enforceable. We would be recommending that daylight planning be enforceable and not an option.
Yeah, and so we would have to take this out.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, take that off there and put it under wall articulation.
Is wall articulation also spelled out in the S17? I have it pulled up right
No.
now. That's kind of funny that daylight plane and facade articulation are.
Well, yeah, those live in the S17 zoning. And obviously the whole Mid-Coast is not S17, it's just most of it's S17. So we'd have to look at those other residential zoning districts. But the design standards, all the other design standards live in the DR section of the.
Your
regs.
winter grading dates are wrong too.
Oh, okay, we can update that as well.
Because I think it's to May 1st now, right?
It's April 30th. It's from October 1st to April 30th. So that's wrong. Okay, so at least.
So we refer to S17, should we push the facade articulation option into wall articulation?
Well, it's
So-
already, wall articulation is required by the Mid-Coast design DR standards, which are adopted.
Yes.
Part of the same regulations. I don't think we need to state it in the S17 necessarily.
Yeah, so we would basically take facade articulation out of S17, correct?
Yeah.
I think that makes sense.
Yeah, just remove it entirely. And then just, yeah, and then you're combining it, all those standards into the wall articulation, which would be
Right.
made part of the DR standards.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna delete this.
We've lost you, Camille. You're not showing the doc anymore.
Oh, okay, hold on, I'm sorry.
I can still see the S17 one. I just didn't see the,
Oh, okay,
yeah,
sorry.
the guidelines.
Yeah, guideline stuff.
Can you see them now?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna take off this, about these being options, because I don't know if we want to expand the scope of this project to start digging into S17.
Yeah, I don't really think that we need to get into that kind of nuts and bolts, but
Yeah.
I think that as far as making sure that daylight plane is enforceable, I think that's important for the guidelines.
Yep. Okay, so moving on. So yeah, perfect, wall articulation. So I will add a note to add standards under facade integrate.
And then the language need to be cleaned up under standards because it also references the previous section.
Oh, okay. Make. I'm just gonna say update. So I've always found this to be a good diagram.
Yeah, I think it's helpful. It's helpful for explaining diagrammatically to people what the goal is. What would be maybe nice is, I don't know if it's helpful to show, this one is one of the few that doesn't show do this, not this. And I'm
Mhm.
wondering if a diagram of that same sort of house without the articulation.
Well, this is the don't do this.
Yeah, but I mean, like, you know how there's the perspective at the bottom?
Like a 3D.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, do you think that showing how, hey, look, this would be a rectangle if it didn't have that, so that they can understand why it's important and what the value is?
Okay. Add. What is this? I'm confused by this, I have to say.
I think that that is showing first floor and second floor separately.
So it's okay to have like a long stretch of wall on the first floor? Is that what it's saying?
No, it's actually the top view of something like this, something like what's going on in the diagram below.
Oh, I see. Okay,
Yeah,
so
it's a little
this line needs to
confusing.
be, it's this
That-
line, this
Yeah,
line.
this bottom part should be darker gray also, so that it looks like it's first and second story, right?
Yeah, this is remove interior line and make bump out dark gray. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Okay. That's always confused me. Okay. Architectural styles. Use an architectural style and design elements that complement the predominant style of nearby homes. Only when such homes, do we define that as 300 formally?
What's
I
300?
think. What's that?
What's 300 are you referring to?
Remember how like earlier on in this document, I think the question came up, like, what do you consider nearby homes? And then we determined that it's within the 300 notice range.
Oh, yeah, we were discussing what is community
Yeah.
versus neighborhood.
Oh, okay. So nearby, is that like more like closer by the house, like just the immediately surrounding? I guess that would be my question here.
Well, the funny thing about this one is I do appreciate that it does specify only when such homes conform with the design standards, because we run into this a lot where I know that when I started designing my home, I went through the neighborhood and looked at the predominant forms and then found out very quickly that those didn't actually meet the design standards.
Yeah.
So I think that that's really important to keep that in there. But I think that it is pretty vague to have it say nearby homes.
Yeah.
Avoid architectural styles and design elements of nearby homes when such homes do not conform to the design standards.
So it's probably reasonable to use the same language as is used when in the beginning when defining the 300.
Well, I guess the question is, how close do we think that the relatable architectural styles need to be?
Yeah. Like within the view, kind of like within the view, you know.
Yeah.
landscape.
I think the 300 feet work. We had a case in Montero where the actual block or neighboring blocks had designs that met the standard, but they were architecturally not aesthetically pleasing. And the person proposed a project style that existed within the 300-foot mark. So it was a home that existed, which presented an improvement. So I think it allows for a little more diversity.
Mhm.
And since we
Okay.
have those affected are within 300 feet.
So maybe we should, do we define it as that way? How did we say it? Was it the community? Anyway, I'll
Well,
figure it out.
Yeah, whatever's consistent with the early.
300 feet should be used and term like i.e. community.
Yeah, just to make sure we're consistent.
Here it is. Surrounding a house, the process of defining a neighborhood begins by defining the area surrounding a house within 300 feet.
Okay, so it's the surrounding.
It's the area surrounding a house within 300 feet. It's called the neighborhood. That's the defining a neighborhood.
Neighborhood.
Defining a neighborhood begins by defining the area surrounding a house within 300 feet.
Do you guys think that there would be any value to having a short definitions section at the beginning of the design guidelines?
Oh,
It's
definitely.
at the back. I think it's at the back.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
There's no index or anything,
We
so.
do have a glossary, but it doesn't index
do?
pages.
Yeah, we have a
Yeah, at
block.
the front might be helpful.
Oh, so yeah, neighborhood is there. It's number 25.
Wait, where is that?
Wait,
It's in the back of the blue book, but it doesn't say, it does say the section that it's described in.
Oh, here, neighborhood. Perfect.
Yeah.
There you go.
56520.
Okay.
This is
Yeah.
weird. Mine doesn't have that.
It's weirdly out of order.
I don't have that in my, yeah, I mean, definitions are always in the beginning, so that's why I thought it was weird, but I don't have that in mind for some reason.
It's alphabetical, I guess.
It's like, but some of it's not. It's really funny. Oh, these are roof
Oh.
styles. Oh, okay, I see. I see.
Is this
Versus-
actually in the design? This is in the blue book?
Yeah,
Yeah.
This
back
is
page.
not in mine. What's right before this section in yours?
It's the utilities and second units. What's your back page?
My back page says Planning and Building Division, Public Service Excellence, San Mateo County. And then right before that, it says second units.
Yeah, you're missing some pages.
Yeah,
Mine's only 32 pages. Huh.
Yeah.
well, 31 covers the glossary in mine,
It's weird. Let me look at it.
different prints. different
Okay.
kinds.
I'm gonna, okay, good. C. So this is C.
That's so funny. Even my revised one, which is the one that corrected some of the images that were wrong before, you know, that do this, not this.
Yeah,
Both of mine are only 32 pages.
the printouts.
I have PDFs.
Oh,
Yeah, let me look at the county website one.
okay, anyways. Okay, Katie, stay focused.
Okay. So something I wanted to mention, going back to architectural style, this
Yeah.
is something that we have been talking about recently through several project reviews that I think I would like to suggest gets incorporated into the architectural style and specifically the architectural style section. We have had projects come before us that were architecturally very strong. They were strong projects. They had good design. They were good massing, but there were certain elements of the design that did not meet the standards. And, you know, we have given some leeway on certain areas here and there, but some of these projects had more than one area that did not meet the standards. And what we had discussed at the time was that it might be worth considering saying, if a project wants to deviate from the design guidelines, that it would be basically at the applicant's risk, and that the architectural style would need to be strong enough to support that deviation, and that would be up to the discretion of the design review committee.
That's a really good point, Katie, because it comes up quite often these days.
Yeah.
I think the language is good too. Sort of at the applicant's risk and discretion of the committee. I feel like it does
Basically,
set
it's
up-
like saying, if you think your project is good enough that it doesn't have to follow
Yeah.
this guideline, then you're doing that at risk. And that's when we do get to be subjective.
Right, that's important to note, because otherwise it's gonna set us up for a fight.
Right,
Time.
right. So that's something that I think we have all been experiencing on our projects and felt that that would be really nice to be able to support a project deviating from the standards if the architecture is strong enough to support that, but that's getting into very subjective decision-making territory. So we're basically kind of like when we have the ability to allow a project to go up to 33 feet in height at the design review committee's discretion.
Yeah. But isn't the point of the standards update is to allow for, like, some of those projects I was just thinking out loud, like, are like, don't have articulation because they're like uber modern. So isn't the point of this standards update is to allow for those styles and they wouldn't have to be a deviation because those styles would be allowed. So that goes back to wall articulation and facade articulation. Like, do we want to update those to allow for those modern buildings that don't articulate?
Well, the answer is
Well, that's a
yes,
really good
but the instruction we were given was really to just modify the critical language that's
Right.
not working, or critical aspects that aren't working. That would be a big modification.
It's tough because we would have to get very prescriptive about architectural styles and which styles are allowed to have less facade articulation. And I think that gets kind of challenging, and it may end up getting into that, but we don't really have any idea how much support we're going to have from the community or the county on how much change will happen with this document. So if
Yeah.
a lot of it does stay the same, and a lot of it's good, like the wall articulation, you know, that stuff, it does really break down the massing of projects. And I do think that it's valuable, but in certain instances with particular styles, it's harder to accomplish those architectural styles within the guidelines. But if we get really prescriptive about, okay, they're going to say, well, this is a modern design. And we'll say, okay, I don't think that's a modern design, that even calling it modern could be considered sort of subjective, and we might end up with more combative designers and architects
Right.
saying, I'm calling it this because I don't want to do facade articulation.
Right.
Do
but
you
don't
see
think-
how, what's that?
I was just gonna say, to support what Camille is saying, that it would be nice if we could write the guidelines such that we could allow for the styles we're wanting to allow, and then not have to build in this kind of discretionary thing, because I feel like that does also set up
Mhm. Yeah,
situation where we're more subjective, and then people can come at us and say like, well, you just don't like me or my design or whatever. it
yeah,
is.
or everything you guys approve is coastal craftsman and the design standards are skewed in that direction, which was one of the purposes for updating it.
But
Well,
I mean, I
It's a
personally,
much more extensive
well,
edit.
it may be, but maybe it would, I mean, I think that in terms of the modern architecture, that one, and I know we're not there yet, but one place that I think we would address it within the update of the guidelines is the limitation on the amount of flat roof permitted.
Right.
And so that would be one place. I mean, I know that we had a recent project where there was also a facade articulation issue. But it seems like we do have the flexibility to subjectively allow things, as we obviously have, that contravene
Well,
the
we've had-
guidelines. But I don't know that I'm anxious about it being built into the guidelines to sort of say like, but we can.
Oh, that
Good enough.
discretion.
Yeah.
Well, Camille, if you, if you think it's okay to more heavily edit the sections, because this will go into, this will impact several sections of, I would say it's better to have it described and stated other than discretionary.
I think so too. And I've done a little bit like this where this isn't discretion. This is just like a statement. If no wall articulation can be if there's no wall articulation, the project can be allowed for a sort of a distinct style or high design proposal. I don't know how to say the high design part.
Well, I
but
think
well
we
defined.
just actually have to include examples of modern design,
Yeah.
throughout for roof types and wall articulation.
Yeah, we would have to really prescribe,
Yeah.
we would have to define all kinds of architectural styles. It's,
I mean, that would be excellent. One of the issues that a number of architects and designers have is that we keep showing this craftsman design in
Yeah.
our examples.
Exactly. So, going back to I think this goes back to whether daylight plane and facade articulation should be one or the other, because, like basically if people right now, they're not articulating, they have to do daylight plane. But if you make both required, which is essentially what we discussed, then those proposals are going to have a harder time.
Well, if we include in facade articulation the options that are applicable to good modern design, that works. We just don't want a box. We'd probably want to put in farmhouse design and modern design.
No, some of them were boxes, like purposely so.
yeah,
I like the one with David Janing, the last, not to name, I mean, it's just an example. We're not talking about Janing's project, but you remember that form. It was like a big box with like a.
It was, but then with the articulation, which I think improved the design, there was an implementation of some articulation.
There wasn't that much wall articulation though.
are we talking
No,
about the
that's
one
correct.
in Montera that
That's
had all the
correct.
glass?
That's correct.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that I had a hard time trying to support that project based on the guidelines.
Yeah.
And honestly, like it didn't feel like it felt like it was a mix of two competing architectural styles. And that's really challenging if we get prescriptive about that. Somebody might come to us with a form that looks traditional and say, well, I'm using modern materials, so this is a modern traditional thing. And it starts to get to a lot of like gray area.
Mhm.
I mean, but to back to this point, that project would have met the daylight plane, but it would not have met facade articulation. So in a sense, the either or gives those modern projects more of a
right? Because they can
Yeah.
just meet
Opportunity,
daylight plane.
right.
Yeah. I don't know.
No, I mean, I think that's a fair point. I mean, it sounds like the direction we were talking about was still gonna make sure, I think the intent is for daylight plane always to be required.
Yeah.
And then the things that are important about facade articulation seem like they could get built into the wall articulation section, but maybe we need to get to where we're looking at the wall articulation section first and then circle back, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, I
Okay.
just had a really moment of clarity when we were talking about side setback lines versus front setback lines and the direction of the sun. Maybe the daylight plane, the location, like which setback lines it applies to, should actually be the relation to cardinal north.
Well,
Like I've always thought that it should only be the side setback lines because that's always the smaller setback and that's where the daylight is more critical.
but south and west would both be kind of critical sides for solar exposure.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Never
Wait.
mind.
Oh, okay. Is that, are solar panels south and, wait, are they east west or are they north south?
Well, they
So-
can be different directions. I mean, they're optimized if they're facing south, but if you don't have the roof for it, then.
Yeah, they basically
west
just have
is
to
kind of the
optimize
next best.
based on the roof massing and how much availability there is for solar panels. And
Okay.
sometimes they're going to only get the west facing sun, which is going to be lower in the sky. It's not going to get as much efficiency from the panels.
Okay, got it. Should we, I don't know, should there be further protection of the south, south solar?
I think it makes sense.
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Like require south solar or just encourage south solar?
Well, I like require, you're saying require the daylight plane to apply to a south facing property line?
Yeah.
You mean require the implementation of solar on the south?
No, require daylight.
I
What do
feel like
you-
that, I think it would be great if there were extra protection for the south side, but I'm concerned about there being particular parcels where that creates a real problem.
Right, with tree
Yeah.
coverage and, yeah.
Because, I mean, I think the energy code only requires solar. It doesn't require like, you know, that you pick the absolute best side for solar.
Right.
Okay, got it. Maybe it's just worth noting that this.
Yeah,
that
just kind of our thoughts. I'm sure all this is going to get cleaned up and consolidated. And we might have different opinions by the time we get to the end of the document too.
Yeah. Okay, so do we want to move on to wall articulation to discuss whether it should be an option?
Well, I don't think wall articulation should be optional. Well, I don't know. I mean, I know
No.
you guys were talking about on a modern design, maybe you.
Yeah,
No, I don't think it should be optional. I think we should move on to talk about it, because I think
Yeah.
that and talk about how it relates to facade articulation and whether those.
Yeah, so going back
Can
to
be
the
one
whole,
thing.
this discussion about modern forms being more boxy and, you know, that some of them tend to be more successful when they are boxy. I think that because we do have those sections of the facade articulation, well, that was daylight plane. Some of those, maybe we need to have similar, I don't know. This isn't a prescriptive section anyway that says that there has to be a specific amount of facade articulation. So I really do think a modern design can be accomplished while still providing facade articulation. Because we're not saying like everything has to be articulated across, you know, the entire, like the second example there. So there's the rectangle in plan view. Then there's the second one that has like all the ins and outs. We're not saying that it has to be consistently articulated across the whole facade. You could have like, you know, one part that's, you know, that bumps in, and then the rest of it could be a strong form.
Well, facade articulation does talk about cantilevered features.
Mhm.
it-
So it gives you choices of how to, what
Mhm.
Yeah.
architectural details to use.
Yeah, I don't think that wall articulation has been something that is difficult to achieve with a modern design. I don't think that we should not require it for certain architectural styles.
I agree.
And you know, it's not on every wall, it's just the long dimension of the house.
Mhm.
So that's to your point, Katie, like not every wall, you know?
Yeah,
And when you move the facade articulation to this section, it will also expand the understanding.
Do we want to discuss whether materials help to articulate? I mean, and it doesn't even discuss windows. I guess that's under facade articulation. But windows and materials, I mean, if we're truly combining this, you know, you
and
can have
then
like
it
a
would be part
long-
of this.
Yeah,
And we have had people use windows, like if we have a big blank wall, we have asked, you know, as an option for putting a window to break up. It doesn't, yeah. I guess I can see how that's the difference between wall articulation and facade articulation.
yeah.
But I think that those could be the same section. Maybe
Yeah.
we just have a section called articulation, and then there's two subsections in that. One of them is about wall and one of them is about facade.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
And that kind of shows that they are related and that they're both trying to accomplish the same thing, really.
Yep. So not facade. Are we still using the word facade for the materials? Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, I think so.
Mhm.
Because I do think that materials and windows, those are the ways that you accomplish facade articulation.
Mhm.
And then the wall articulation is accomplished with massing changes.
And
Yeah.
Structural
Like-
changes, yeah.
Breaks in the wall. Okay. Good. Back to this. So I think we've decided against this, right?
I don't know. I think we should leave it in there for discussion. And then
Okay.
when we're consolidating all
Okay.
of our notes, we can see if we still think
Yeah.
that this is applicable.
Okay.
Because we do run into that a lot. And I don't want us to be in a position where it looks like there's favoritism, where we're like, oh, well, this designer, blah, 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 so we're going to approve it. I do want it to be the kind of thing where it's not really, it's not personal as far as who the person is. We're not trying to give some people an easier review than others, but with
Yeah.
a very strong architectural design, sometimes I think it's something that, you know, we have recognized that if we did try to implement design guidelines that are missing, it would ruin the design.
This word has always bothered me. That we're
Semi-rural.
calling it a- yeah, it's not rural, it's urban. Mid-Coast is urban. That's always, I don't know. I don't know.
I think it's because so much of the coast is agricultural is maybe the more accurate descriptor.
Well, the mid-coast though, this is only applies to mid-coast. This doesn't apply to the coast. So
Mhm.
mid-coast is urban. But I think, anyway.
The
so,
mid-coast is all considered urban? I thought it was
Yeah, I
rural.
think. Here, let's check. Let me, okay, just to check on time, we have like 12 minutes left. Let me just check really quick. Land use. Urban rural boundary. So let me share my screen. So zoom out. So the blue is rural and the yellow is urban. And so let's turn on the mid-coast land use map. Okay, so it is a little different. There are some areas of the mid-coast that are rural, but to call the whole thing semi-rural is not.
Yeah, it
really
looks a lot
accurate.
more urban than rural there.
It's a lot more urban than rural.
But I think we invite certain assumptions if we just say urban.
Well, it is, I mean, this is designated by the general plan and by the LCP as urban.
Right,
So,
but
I mean,
if
call it
it's
urban.
a
it's not
combination,
like-
then we need to include it.
So we could just take that, I don't know, it bothers me. We can, if we're keeping in small town character, I think that kind of like says it. I don't know that we
Mhm.
need.
Yeah, we
more
don't really need to
semi-rural.
fund the coastal diverse small town character.
Yeah, so I'm gonna say take out. We don't need to replace it with urban. No need to. Okay, so moving on, openings, which is what we sort of, anything else? Oh, here we go. Architectural styles that complement the coastal semi-rural diverse small town character of the area such as coastal craftsmen are encouraged. Do we want to take that out?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to encourage any specific style. I think that's part of what has been an issue for everybody, right?
Mhm. Where are we? Yeah.
Oh, I did.
Oh, same, got it.
Did I share it? Oh, whoops, I shared.
I got it. Yeah.
Okay. Hold on, let me reshare. Oh, God. Okay. So don't encourage anything else problematic about this page. Encourage, okay, it says when no.
Yeah, we don't need to such as anything, such as coastal craftsmen are encouraged. We can just period after character of the area,
Yep.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, end at comma, end sentence at comma. Okay.
Compatible with building material to complement other homes in the neighborhood.
I
Well,
think,
that's a good thing to put in
Yeah.
there.
I think so.
yeah,
yeah.
I do think that it would maybe be helpful to capture some kind of language about, I would need to like read through this whole section a little bit more thoroughly, but something we've run into a little bit is that projects come to us that actually don't have an architectural style, or we say like, what is the architectural style you're going for? And then once they tell us that, we're like, oh, okay, well, here's some suggestions. So I think that, you would think that that would be the first thing that people are starting with when they want to design a house, or, but that somehow that's not happening. And they're just designing something and they don't necessarily have an architectural style. And I mean, it's okay to, go a little bit out of the box, but
Inside out design, like it's more for their use,
yeah. And I
versus-
think, I'm a big believer that form follows function, but
Yeah.
if there isn't an architectural style that guides, the composition of the home, then that's when it starts to feel sort of like one of my neighbors, there's a house near us that one of our neighbors calls the Winchester house because it has all these different windows that don't make sense and they're all over the place. It's a project I went through design review.
So when you say architectural styles that complement the coastal complement the coastal diverse small town character, you do still need are encouraged.
Oh. No, do we? Architects.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
otherwise
we do.
falling off the
Yeah,
cliff,
yeah,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe something about like, attention needs to be paid to selecting, because it does say contemporary and uncommon styles can be compatible if building shapes and materials are carefully chosen to complement other homes in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
But what I think that should actually say is contemporary and uncommon styles can be compatible if the building shapes and materials complement the architectural style that they're going for. The detailing and the materials and everything are part of what support an architectural style. And it starts to get kind of, the design feels confused to me. If it's like, I'm going to do a contemporary style and then I'm going to throw in some materials and details that relate to other houses in the area.
Let me say that again. Materials that complement other homes.
That shows an architectural style. Other home, you can, so Katie, you saying eliminate the other homes in the neighborhood?
Yeah, I
Oh,
think I am.
contemporary uncommon styles can be compatible if building shapes and materials are carefully chosen
It's-
to.
I mean, this
be
one is,
consistent
yeah,
with-
this one is a little tougher because it's sort of asking the question, if somebody's going to build something that's contemporary as an example, and the neighborhood doesn't have contemporary homes in it, then one, we're already, we've already touched on the neighborhood and that the homes should relate a bit to the homes in that 300-foot neighborhood. But do you want them to try to relate to the neighborhood by adding details of homes that are not contemporary? Or do you want the contemporary style to actually be a strong architectural statement and have details and materials and colors that relate to that architectural style?
So you're suggesting just building shapes and materials that are chosen,
To support
you
the
can-
chosen architectural style.
the chosen architectural style, right?
Yeah,
That support the chosen architectural style.
yeah, rather than other homes in the neighborhood.
Do
Do
other,
do you think that taking building shapes and materials from other homes in the neighborhood would make a contemporary style successful and help it blend? I guess that's the question.
Well, in this point, number 2, we're already mentioning architectural styles that complement the diverse small town character of the area are encouraged. It's almost like if contemporary and uncommon styles are chosen, the materials and need to support the materials need to support the chosen architectural style. So you're almost bringing up those that are compatible and those that may not be. So you're bringing that up here. Is that the intention?
does this reflect what you were saying, Katie? Because I think what you're saying is like, there's some homes that don't have a style, while this talks about contemporary and uncommon styles, like, but that people they can just use the same materials and shapes in lieu of matching the architectural style. That's not what you're saying, Katie?
She's saying that the materials and shapes need to be supportive of the architectural style that's chosen.
One that's being proposed
Right,
rather
Oh,
than,
that's what you're trying to say.
rather than
Yeah.
just what's in the neighborhood.
yeah, I think
Okay,
that we
so
end
delete
up,
this.
yeah, because I think that we're basically telling people to confuse their design style by trying to make it compatible by throwing in features in that neighborhood that don't go with that architectural style.
Yeah, and
Right?
that's some of the issues.
Yeah, I mean, I think there can be a place for picking up on the materials that are in the neighborhood.
Mhm.
But it's obviously not a substitute for choosing materials that are appropriate to the style.
Maybe we just shouldn't have this section. Maybe we shouldn't be talking about how to make uncommon styles compatible.
Well, this is the section for architectural styles and features.
Mhm.
So we do want to emphasize that choosing an architectural style that complements the small town character is encouraged. If a contemporary or uncommon style is chosen, materials should support the chosen architectural style.
If it's okay, I see. So what if
This
we add, if it's consistent with the architectural style?
Yeah, basically, I
Yes,
think
yes,
all projects
yes.
should have
The
materials.
chosen architectural style.
They should all be consistent with the architectural style that's selected, right?
Yeah.
I guess that's what my beef is with that sentence, is that it sounds like we're saying, pick something that doesn't go with your architectural style to help it go with the
Yeah.
neighborhood, but then it ends up being a confused architectural style and a less successful project.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe that's all we need to say. Materials and shapes should be consistent with the chosen architectural style. We don't need to say contemporary.
Yeah. And then that would help, because then if we do get a project that does seem sort of confused or something, we could say, we could start with what is the architectural style that you
Right,
are going for, and then we know how to support them in that review.
yeah. So maybe this is an additional point to the standards, not trying to fit it in number 1, 2, or 3.
that the materials should be consistent
Uh-huh.
with the style. Okay,
Mhm.
which,
So we get rid of the contemporary sentence and we put a number 4, materials and shapes should be consistent with the chosen architectural style.
Sorry to interrupt. This is Glenn. We are at 3 p.m.
okay.
Oh,
Thank
okay.
you. So remove
Contemporary
contemporary.
from the standard 2.
Well, I would want to remove that materials are carefully chosen to complement other homes in the neighborhood.
Just
Yeah.
remove the whole sentence.
Yeah, that whole sentence, I think
Yeah.
probably should
And
just
then
go.
add a standard number 4.
And it says some of that information under number 1 also. It says where no predominant architectural style can be defined, encourage compatibility through the use of similar building shapes, exterior materials or colors or architectural features such as roofs, windows, doors, etc.
Okay.
So I don't know, let's maybe leave a little post-it note on here saying
Yeah,
like, let's
yeah.
talk about this.
Yeah.
Maybe when we're fresh,
Yeah.
we'll have thought about it and we'll have some, you know, new insights on how to address this, but this is an important section.
So this is gonna be a yellow marker to revisit.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Very
you.
productive meeting. Okay. Fabulous. Thanks, guys. Here, let me stop share and then we can go on to the next item.
Okay. All right. Camille, you good? Glenn?
Okay, that now we can move to the next item on the agenda. There will be item 1. So that's item 1 on the agenda for PLN 2019-00362. And Camille is the project planner for this project.
All
Yes.
right.
Camille, can you please identify your applicants and the property owner so I can promote them to be the panelists?
Carolyn Lee is the applicant.
Sorry, can I take like a 2-minute just bathroom break?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. I'll be right back.
Come back
Yeah,
at
okay,
2:05.
me too. I'll be right back.
Okay. So maybe should we just adjourn for 5 minutes or no?
Yeah, so we can take a 5-minute break
Okay.
and now we'll come back at 3:08.
Okay, thank you. Maureen, the 379 Nevada starts at 3:30. I know you joined early, but the item doesn't start till 3:30. Can she hear me? Is
I
she still-
think Marine has disconnected from the.
Oh, she has, okay. Shoot, I don't think she knew that the item started later. Oops.
Yeah, she needed to leave to attend another meeting. Hi, everyone. We're at 3:08 now. Just let me know if you're back.
Yep, I'll unmute when I'm done eating these loud chips.
Thank you. Hi, Beverly. I see you. Katie, are you back? Katie is not here yet, so let's give her a few more minutes.
I'm here.
Okay, hi, Katie.
Hi, guys. Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay, shall I begin? Are the applicants attending?
Yeah, we have Carolyn Lee and Team Patterson.
All right. We're recording.
Yeah, we're being recording.
Okay, owner Timothy Patterson, applicant Carolyn Lee and Pete Earnshaw. File number PLN 2019-00362. Location Cedar Street, Montera. Assessor's parcel number 036132210. Consideration of a design review recommendation to allow the construction of a 2,429 square foot two-story single-family residence with an attached two-car, 471 square foot garage on a legal 6,975 square foot undeveloped legal parcel. PLN 2016-00222, associated with a staff level resource management, RM permit, coastal development permit, CDP, and a variance to allow a reduced front yard setback of 46 feet, where 50 feet is the minimum, and side yard setbacks of 9 feet and 12 feet, where a minimum of 20 feet is required, due to the triangular shape of the parcel. The project includes minor grading, the proposed removal of 2 significant trees, and an easement over Caltrans right-of-way for access. The CDRC will not render a decision, but will make a recommendation regarding the project's compliance with the design review standards. Staff will prepare an initial study neg deck and will make a decision on the RM, CDP, and DR permits and variance after June 9th, 2022. The project is not appealable to the California Coastal Commission. The project was scheduled for continued consideration from the July 8th, 2021 meeting. Application deemed complete May 18th, 2021. Project planner Camille Leung. Can we have a presentation of the response to the items that have been changed from the applicant?
Hi, members of the CDRC. I am Tim Patterson's land use attorney. My name is Carolyn Lee, and I will be speaking on his behalf. Unfortunately, his builder, Pete Earnshaw, he was called away on an emergency and was unable to attend. But I will be prepared to walk through all of the changes that were requested by the CDRC since our last meeting of October 14th, 2021. So that's just one correction, Beverly, for the meeting date. Tim has worked with our project planner to review and address each of the comments that were made in the CDRC's deficiencies
could you
letter.
repeat that, Carolyn? It was a correction to what?
It was a correction as to the date of the last meeting. The date of the last meeting was on October 14th, 2021.
Oh, interesting.
And-
I actually found the
2021?
documents. I found the documents in July 8th, 2021.
I think this has been continued more than once.
Yeah, sorry, I made that mistake. The
Okay.
last time you saw this was October 2021.
Yes, all right. Thank you very much.
Yes, of course. The letter that Camille had just showed too, that was the last letter that you issued on November 11th, 2021. So we'll be responding to those 3 comments that were made for the Mid-Coast design standards. So beginning with the first one regarding the building mass and scale, the living space in the master suite as well as in the utility room has now been reduced by about 150 square feet. The master suite, it was immediately above the garage, and that has also been moved inward 8 feet to the north, so that the side setback has been increased on that side from 10 feet to 20 feet. There is still the single-story garage setback, which is also increased. Previously, it was at 10 feet and now is at 12 feet. And we understand that we are cognizant of the neighbor who is located at 844 Cedar Street. There are some comments that were made regarding privacy, and we would like to note that on the second floor for that master suite, there's only a small slit window, and so one cannot see into the backyard of 844 Cedar. And we have done our utmost to try and accommodate the neighbors' concerns for privacy.
I have a quick question. I don't see separate floor plans in the submittal package. I see the first floor plan overlaid on the site plan. Are there first and second floor plans for us to review so that we can see the spaces in relation to the privacy issues?
I believe the best one that Camille has as she's scrolling through is on, it might not be on that sheet, but on the elevations sheet, Camille.
Okay, let me find that.
Can I ask a follow-up question too, or I'll wait until you've looked at that and when we go back to the site plan?
So I think the answer to my question is that there are not actual floor
Yeah,
plans.
I think
Right.
that is, I don't know that there's a floor plan that was provided of the second floor, darn it.
Okay.
So here, thank you. You said that the side setback has been increased to 20 feet, correct?
Yes, that's right. That is along the, if you can see on
I
the,
see, but it still says
Yes,
12
yeah.
feet just to the right of that at the garage. So this,
that's right. That was increased from 10 to 12 feet just for the garage.
okay.
I think she's saying that the house, they've tried to push over to 20 feet.
Sure.
Behind that, right.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's right.
And sorry, can I also ask in which direction is the neighbor who made the comments regarding privacy on this map? It's this one right here? Okay,
That's right.
thanks. No, thank you.
Let me try to find the floor plan from the previous middle.
10 square feet. So I'm looking at the front page and I'm seeing that it's 310 square feet and currently 2,988. That's a reduction of 22 square feet. Is that a miscalculation or an error in the cover sheet of your present cover sheet?
I'm sorry, Beverly, in terms of,
The reduction of
Just-
150 square feet, I don't come up with that from your cover sheet.
It could be that reduction is at the second floor, which we're not seeing.
yeah, so then I think,
It would still be
Beverly, we might,
FAR, total living area.
Uh-huh, right.
So I'm not getting that 150 square foot calculation, just as a matter of record.
we do have a corrected cover sheet. I'm not, and I can certainly work with Camille to make sure that those numbers are accurately depicted. I do believe that it might have been in one of our submittals, but it just might not have been picked up in time for posting on this website.
To clarify, the 2988 includes the garage. So if you minus the garage and the porch, it includes the garage and the porch minus. Does that help?
No, it's still calcs as 22 square foot reduction, not 150 square foot reduction.
Okay, so 150 was something Carolyn mentioned, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not showing 150 either, Carolyn. I'm showing like 21 square feet. Reduction.
If you wouldn't mind giving me a moment, Camille, hopefully I would be easily able to.
You know,
well-
it doesn't matter. I don't think it
It's
matters.
not,
Kristen. I
it's
think we
not
just need to
critical,
focus on the plans
to
in
the-
front of us.
yeah, we can proceed. You can.
Okay,
I mean,
yeah.
it's a reduction. It's not.
Right.
you
it
know,
is a reduction.
Right.
And
The
we'll make
roof-
sure that Camille, I'm
Right.
sorry.
Thank you, that's okay. In the elevation, I'm not seeing where the roof line was lowered. If we look at the present elevation and the previous elevation. Let's see,
Don't have the previous one in.
so
front.
it's, I do.
Oh, good.
But it doesn't help to share screen because it's just not readable. But
Okay.
I'll read it off. The present elevation, can you tell me, Carolyn, where it was reduced? Was it the ridge line or part of the roof line was lowered slightly? Roof line over the garage
If I
was
can-
reduced by 50%. So in the present document, the garage roof line is not noted as to its height, and in the previous
Well,
one,
There's a height dimension.
not on the garage. Are you finding it, Camille?
On the current design?
Yeah.
On-
Yeah, it's right here.
Oh, 16.6. 16.6, I see it.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the overall height is
27, 8 and 7/8.
okay. All right, and now I'm going back.
So I actually do have the October hearing plan set pulled up as well now, and it's readable. So if we do need to reference it, just let me know.
What was the height? What was the overall height on the original?
The overall height was 27'8" and 7/8", and the garage height was 16'6".
Okay.
Okay, so it wasn't.
So-
reduced.
So
Maybe the plate height was reduced. Is that what they're talking about? I don't know what they're. So Carolyn, they're trying to confirm some of the statements that you made.
some of the changes that you were
Yeah.
suggesting
So, but I think we just have to go with.
based on our requests, on requirements.
Oh, to reduce the height.
Consider bringing some of the portions of the roof down to the gutter or eave line of the first story to reduce the apparent mass of the building. Yeah,
Which, are you looking at?
I'm
this
looking at the letter.
The November 3rd letter? I think you might be looking at an earlier letter.
Am I? Because I thought it was
Yeah.
July. Okay, I gotta go. back to the
Yeah,
November
sorry.
letter.
The November letter is the one posted on the website and the one shared right now.
No, that's our letter.
The November 3rd CDRC letter
Okay,
is the one being shared right now, based on the last CDRC's review in October.
Yeah, so the three things that we were needing to review are the elements of design. Locate the primary portion of the second stories toward the center of the first story and away from the property lines wherever feasible. So maybe we should just go through one item at a time and ask the applicant to tell us how each one of these three conditions or three of these guidelines has been met. So for that first one, how was the second story pulled in from the first story? And again, without the second floor plan, it's difficult to see that. We have to kind of rely purely on the elevations.
Right. So then I recognize that it's a little difficult to be flipping back and forth, but if we were looking at the October plans, and I don't know, Camille, if that is also
It was in
possible
line.
for you.
I think you can just describe
It
that
was
in line with.
Yeah,
the
it was in
garage.
line with the garage, exactly. And so then that was pulled inwards and moved along with the entirety of the house, as Camille is indicating in her cursor. And so that would have been at least 8 feet that was moved in.
Right, so
Well,
that-
you said
that's
the garage
20
was,
floor.
you said the garage was, used to be at 10 feet though. So that's 10 feet in, right?
Yeah, so it looks like the whole
Yes.
building has been moved 2 feet, plan north. And then the back, where the utility room is, that part has been pushed back further, which is great.
Or 8 feet.
That,
yeah.
that doesn't really impact the second floor stepping in though.
It does, because the second floor was on top of the first floor originally, and now the second floor, as well as the first floor living areas, are pushed back 20 feet from the shared property line.
Right,
From
but
the
I think
property
that,
line, but not inset from the first story.
yeah, it's supposed to be, that comment was related to having it stepping in from the first story. So I think that they're still in plane with each other.
I think, but to just to further clarify, that was to move the second story in was a privacy measure so that the second story didn't look onto the south property, the south neighboring property, but instead they shoved the whole thing over,
Yeah,
moving both the first and the second story. I don't know if this was this was a way to move all habitable areas like further away from the south property line, not just the second story. So I think it was sort of a way to get at the same thing.
yeah. I see that. I can appreciate that. I understand that it's not actually meeting the guideline in the way that it is written, but I appreciate that by pulling the first floor in also, it is providing more privacy to the neighbor.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we can talk about that with discussion on whether or not we think that the massing is something that the committee could support the way it's currently designed. So the second one, Beverly, do you want to go ahead with this, or do you want me to?
I see the response to the second one. Are you all able to see that?
Yeah, so with facade articulation.
Right. So the second one was about facade articulation shall be provided on all building sides, and I can see where it has occurred
Mhm.
per your presentation, Carolyn. In all sides. The third one, well, 1, 3, 4. Okay, 1, 2, 3. The third one is exterior materials and colors.
Yeah, and I do see that they've introduced other colors into the color palette on page
Right,
13 and 14.
and materials as well,
Mhm.
at the gables.
Mhm.
Let's see, and additionally, improve the roof design, unless that was done last time. With the gables.
Yeah, it actually has a little bit less gables now, but I think that it's mainly because that master suite section was pulled in. So I think that what they did by removing the gable on the second story above the garage, I think that was actually the right move because it would have been disproportionate.
All right, I'm just trying to track this again. Elevations, yes, okay, all right, let me get rid of this old one.
Okay, so I think
Yeah,
I think that answers my questions. And I think as far as aside from stepping the second floor in from the first floor, it sounds like the conditions or the issues were met from the previous letter.
So, but was there a comment in the previous letter about the extent of variance to setback being requested?
The variance.
Yeah, is that our purview or is that staff level to discuss the degree of setback variance being requested?
I think we can take public comment and we can try to see if it can be resolved through design, but
all right, why don't we take public comment and then we'll have discussion. Glenn?
Okay, per the chair, we're now opening public comments for item number 1. The public correspondence for this project received prior to the meeting have been uploaded to the meeting page on the county planning website and forwarded to CDRC. I will read public comments from whom are not present in this meeting. And yeah, so I will summarize the public comments from Mr. Tom Moore, as he may not be present in this meeting. Mr. Moore objects to the proposed 12-foot rear setback, location of the second telephone pole, and the development within the Devil's Slide bypass nets. And also we receive an anonymous comment from an interested party. He or she is concerned that whether the variance finding can be made in support of the subject application. Another anonymous comment received from the public. The person is concerned with the proposed tree removal outside the subject property boundary, tree replacement requirement, habitat preservation, encroachment into the Caltrans easement, fire safety measures, carbon footprint reduction using solar roof, and the lack of utility connection information on plans. So I will ask those members of the public who wish to comment to click the raise hand function feature to raise your hand to speak on this item. I will lower your hand after you speak. Those joining by telephone can press *9 to raise and unraise your hand. Press *6 will mute or unmute your microphone once you're given permission to speak. And I see one raised hand, and from the message, according to the message, this member of the public sent me previously, he will speak on behalf of Marie. And yeah, I will allow you, please accept this request to unmute your microphone and begin speaking. Please begin by stating your name, address, and email address for the record.
Glenn, you made a mistake. I am speaking about the next item on the Moss Beach item, not the Montero.
Okay. 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 Sorry about that.
So I'll re-put up my hand, right?
Yeah. So I will lower your hand, and just for information, the next item will begin at 3:30.
Perfect. Thank you.
That's on the agenda, but it may run late.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. And now I have called upon all raised hands for speaking on this item. For those on Zoom, are there any other persons who wish to speak on this item? Item number 1. If so, I will provide a few more seconds in case there are any other there are others that would like to raise their hand to speak on this item. As a reminder, for those joining by phone, please press *9 to raise your hand. Okay, there are no more raised hands for this item. Beverly, please indicate if you would like to close public comment.
Yes, I'd like to close public comment and we'll move on to discussion. Okay.
Beverly, do you want to start with your thoughts this time? You always start with us.
I've been able to pull up the October documents, and there were some outstanding sections from the July write-up that needed to be satisfied. And those items, as we discovered earlier, have mostly been satisfied. I don't know if it's essential to locate the primary portion of the second stories toward the center of the first story. Carolyn, does this continue to be a modular home?
It does continue to be a modular home, that's correct.
Okay, so doing that, it can be awkward at times. So I think best efforts have been made to satisfy the remaining conditions. So that I'm good, actually. I was able to look at the current plans, and I thought that the second item, or number 3, to provide facade articulation was well satisfied. And number 4, the third for exterior materials and colors. So and pushing in the rear of the house another 20 feet has actually led to a much more pleasing architectural style overall. So that would be, those would be my comments. It's not really a discussion, but I just wanted to put that forth.
I do have one more question for the applicant. Now that the building footprint has been pushed in where the utility room is, I didn't have a chance to read through the entire arborist report, but is it possible to still maintain that Monterey cypress that's there?
As the Monterey cypresses that are located in that location, potentially, Camille, if you could go to the arborist report. Sorry, I just don't know the answer off the top of my head. And it does look like we are able to maintain it.
It looks like it might
Or
be getting removed.
I'm not sure if it was still being called out to be removed based on the previous design, because it was obviously too close previously. So I'm happy, like, I would be happy with a condition that be looked at, have the arborist comment based on, whether or not this tree can still remain based on the revised plans and not hold it up in the review process. But now that the utility room has been pushed back, it looks like, I don't have tree canopies on here to be able to see the impact, and I don't see the number for that tree either.
It looks like it's a 16-inch cypress, 15-inch, and it looks like in the area where the utility room was, they're proposing a concrete pad and a drainage swale.
Oh yeah, so it might still have to
And
be-
they're doing some regrading as well.
right, I'm sorry that I might have misspoke about that earlier. But we are happy to have that as a condition to look at it further and to work with Camille to make sure that however the committee wishes to address it, we can do that as a condition of approval.
So it's just a condition review arborist report to see if cypress by utility room can remain.
Yeah, I guess part of what's a little bit confusing in looking at this is that the site plan, the only place that I see those concrete pads is on the grading and drainage plans and not on the site plan.
Well, it says, if you read the little note, okay, I'll zoom in. It says Monterey cypress be removed, to be
Oh
removed.
yeah, no, I just meant that there's no pad there. There's also another pad that's shown on the on sheet C1
Yeah,
that's planned south from the garage.
yeah.
And I don't know why that's there.
It's probably a landing. It was a rather
there's-
large landing. Let me see.
Because
if
I don't think there's not a door there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it's not really shown on the other plans, so it's a little confusing. There's definitely some coordination that needs to happen.
He might have just wanted a pad there. So, do you want him not to have the pad there?
No, I don't have concerns about that pad there, but I guess I would say that I would just like for them to investigate whether or not the concrete pad that is outside the door to the garage could be reduced to maintain the tree. No, the other one that's at the corner where they pushed back the utility room. Yeah, I would say that that's something I'd like them to investigate. I don't want to hold that up in design review, but if you can keep a tree that that isn't necessarily, if it's only being impacted by the drainage, I think we can work around that. So I would just have that be a condition.
Okay. Carolyn, we'll
But
take a look at the arborist report because it looks like it was addressed in the arborist report. We'll take a look and we'll figure out why, and we'll
Yeah.
see if there's a way to keep it.
yeah, because it may not have been they may not have had the arborist report updated from the design changes. But overall, yeah, I agree with Camille that I think a lot of the other conditions and issues that we needed to be resolved have been resolved. I think that the
Beverly?
house, yeah, sorry, Beverly. I think that the architectural style of the home does lend itself to a stacked footprint for the second floor being over the first floor. It's kind of got that colonial sort of feel. And I think that that is an architectural style that supports that. And I think that the other efforts at articulation have been well received and that they complement the project. I think that the color scheme is nice. So yeah, aside from a condition about that pad and possibly trying to maintain that tree, the only other thing that I would like to capture is that these drawings are not, that there's not scaled floor plans. The elevations are not to scale. I've tried scaling off of the drawings. The only ones that are scalable are really the civil plans. And for the most part, the setbacks are pretty close. But I would just like to have it captured on record that whatever set goes through the building permit process needs to actually be scalable and something that can actually be staked and measured by a surveyor and enforced in the field, because what we're seeing in front of us now is very inconsistent and we don't even have drawings that are to scale.
Katie, that is understood. And yes, we agree with you in terms of making sure that everything is in conformance and will be scalable by the time we go to building permit review.
Okay, great.
Right, and these setbacks will be regulatory by the time this gets approved. There would be
What's that
no
mean?
further variance.
Sorry, what's that, Camille?
So these setbacks, like if it turns out once these plans are scalable, once they're made scalable,
Mhm.
and say this setback is actually 11, they would be held to 12.
Okay.
Because
I understand, but all of these setbacks on every side are still requiring a variance, right?
yes.
And is that for
Um,
us to review or for you to review?
the front is a minor
Right,
variance. I
because it's
think
just
like
46
2 feet,
instead
but
of
the
5.
rear, there's no variance on the rear setback. It's only really the sides and a minor variance off the front
So the side setbacks are, is it the 9-foot one and the 12
and the
foot?
12-foot, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was thinking that was the back of the lot where it's 12 feet.
Yeah,
Is the hypotenuse the front?
it's the
The angle, yeah.
this angle, yes.
is
This
the front.
angle is, yeah, from this point, it's 20 feet, and then at the rear, it's this point, 20 feet.
So,
Or sorry,
so
50
the
feet.
the pointy end of the triangle is.
So
the
this
rear
is 20
setback?
feet. Uh-huh, yes.
Okay, and the variance that's being requested is from what down to 12 feet?
20, sorry, this is
From
the
20
RM, it's a 20-foot setback,
So
side
from 20 to
setback,
12
50-foot
here.
front.
From 20 to
And
12 on 3 sides?
No, okay,
Sorry.
the front setback is 50 for the RM. The
Mhm.
side setbacks are 20 for the RM and the rear setback is 20. So there's no setback variance needed for the rear. I believe the setback is 48 where 50 is required for the
Mhm.
front.
Fine,
And then you have 12 and you have 9 on the sides where 20 is required.
I see. And is that for us to review or is that to be approved at the staff level?
That's the permit that comes after the recommendation. Is the
I guess
variance.
what I'm getting at is, I find that problematic, but I don't know if that's part of our purview or not.
You can state your concern.
Okay,
But it is, as Camille is mentioning, that we would work with Camille at the staff level. It is not a recommendation that the CDRC would be making.
Well, I'd be interested in hearing the CDRC's feedback, and it was on the agenda that a variance is required, and we won't be doing a republic notification for the variance. So.
well, we've also had a fair amount of neighbor concern regarding.
Exactly. Which setback did you have a concern about, Rebecca?
Well, I mean, I have a concern about the extent of variance being requested altogether, but I mean, the 20 feet down to 9 feet is dramatic. And I think 20 feet down to 12 feet is still pretty significant. And in the absence of having second floor plans that show if something is stepping in or how that relates to daylight plane, it just feels like a very big ask to me. And I think that when this came to review before, we requested that be looked at, and I see that some minor adjustments have been made. But to me, it doesn't look like
Staff
That's what I
supports
thought.
the variance
Mhm.
due to the parcel's triangular shape. You're not left, you're left with a triangle shaped building envelope essentially. And instead of designing a triangle house, which most
Mhm.
people wouldn't do, they're designing, the regular rectangular looking house with proper, insets.
And what is the development on the, what is that, lot 14? Is that an empty lot, which is to be developed, yeah, to the right of the angle? I'm just trying to see what the impact is for the neighbors.
Is that, oh, there,
Yeah.
that's part of the double slide, the Caltrans.
It's GGNRA or whatever.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
undevelopable.
Yes,
So
correct.
that 9 feet is backing onto public land. There's no one
Yes.
who's gonna have their
Yeah.
property compromised by being
No,
there. And on the opposite side where
and we
they're,
have not heard from this neighbor in terms of
we haven't
impact.
heard from that neighbor.
No, we've
Okay.
only heard from the south neighbor.
And this neighbor, the variance being requested on that side is also from 20 to 12, but only now at the garage, and the rest of the house has been pulled into 20,
Right,
correct?
yeah.
Camille, one of the letters of correspondence talked about somebody who was looking at purchasing a lot.
Oh, yes, and wanted a Caltrans easement to their lot, of which they were not given one by Caltrans, right? But it's immaterial to this project.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not adjacent to this project in any way.
No.
But
Uh-huh.
we have a letter from the homeowner on lot 11 objecting to the variance on their side. Yes?
Lot 11, I believe so. Well, he was discussing, his concern had to do with the utility pole mostly, and the privacy impacts from the second story. Let me see if he commented
Yeah, let's see if
specifically on the
there's-
variance.
Yeah, that would be great.
Let's see here.
Yeah, and while she's pulling that up, I can tell you, I'm reading one of the emails from Tom Moore, and it said,
Yeah.
the latest proposal I got in the mail does not mention rear setback of new house at all. The story poles and orange plastic mesh showing new house size and location were recently put up again. They were removed for tree cutting. Put up again in the exact same location as before, 12-foot rear setback, no changes at all. Result house directly above my backyard. I lose all privacy and value to my property. I object. And I think that is Tom Moore, the one that owns the house at lot 11.
Yes.
South.
Yeah. So in my opinion, I think that I definitely understand his concern with the 12-foot setback, but I think that from a privacy standpoint, with the house being pushed back to 20 feet, and the garage essentially being a one-story element, I think that is a pretty big improvement over that concern. And it's possible that he may not have understood that the house itself and all the windows are pushed back further. So from a privacy standpoint, I do think that has been addressed, but unfortunately, it doesn't sound like he's here to speak or for us to discuss that with him, right?
Right. He couldn't join because he said he didn't have a computer or something, and I gave him phone instructions to participate, and he isn't participating. But I also wanted to point out that this is a recorded easement with Caltrans that they gained through a settlement agreement with Caltrans. So pushing the garage further away would basically disalign, unalign the garage with the recorded easement, which they would have to go back to court in order to change that. So that would have been very difficult, but they're right on the edge there of the easement, and that's pretty much as far north as they can go.
Yeah. Is that helpful, Rebecca?
It is. I mean, it's unfortunate that an easement was recorded for a driveway inside a setback where a variance would also have to be required. Because I really do find it problematic when there is a specific neighbor objection, not to address it more thoroughly. Can we see that elevation again?
Oh, yeah. Was it, the second story window?
Yeah, there, and well, in the garage. So there are windows in the garage.
Yeah, there actually are windows, which I couldn't see on the plan because they weren't proper.
Then I would want a condition that those be obscured.
Yeah, I agree.
That they be what?
obscure the windows in the garage so that there's. no-
Usually there's a, 6-foot high fence in between properties. That,
Is there an existing fence there?
not
It
necessarily.
looks like
but
there's something, but again, like these
Let me look at the landscape.
drawings are
plan.
pretty.
I'd be
minimal.
happy to condition a fence or obscuring the windows, but I think we have
Okay,
to protect.
yeah,
the
we can do
neighbor's
that.
privacy.
Yeah,
We can do that. Let's do that.
okay.
Are the landscape plans showing a fence?
Don't think so. I don't see a fence here. And no, I don't see a fence.
And we could condition one or the other or both.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
could give the option, I think.
I mean, I agree, Katie and Beverly, about all the other points about the articulation and the palette and the roof forms, and I think there's a lot of improvement that's been made. Want to be sensitive to neighbor concerns that have been expressed sort of repeatedly and vociferously.
Do we want to specify if the fence, the length of the fence?
There is
Um,
already a fence here, actually. Now that I look at the civils, it's a little off the
I see.
property line, but there is a fence there. I don't know what kind of fence.
I think we could just condition either the obscuring of the windows or a 6-foot fence extending at least the length of the house and garage on that side. And if it's existing, that's fine. But just to make sure that there's not a privacy issue. And then I do sort of wonder about that concrete pad also that you brought up, because I mean, it doesn't seem like where anyone would go for social space. Maybe it's for an air conditioning unit or something like that, but, and there's no door out that side, but I would also want to protect the neighbor from there being.
Entertaining or
No,
something. Yeah, that's way
exterior
too big
color.
for an AC pad. I don't know what the heck that's supposed to be, but
Yeah, I might want to condition no patio on that side, or removing that concrete pad and, or reducing it to the amount necessary for equipment. It's fine if it's.
yeah.
for
Carolyn,
equipment.
do you know what the reason for that concrete pad is?
Unfortunately, I do not, but I can certainly, I'm happy to have that be a condition if, again, along with that second concrete pad that you had already noted, that we take a look into it and make sure that however we wish to handle it, we address the committee's concerns.
Okay, yeah, because I do see that there's electrical and communications coming in around there. It's way too big for a generator also, but I would not want to allow a generator there if there's already concerns with a house being right there.
Yeah,
Okay,
So-
well,
Right,
the
that's
owner
understood.
is on the line, so if the owner has a concern with either reducing or removing the concrete pad, I would suggest that he state the reason why he needs such a large pad.
He is on the line right now.
Yeah,
Can you hear from him?
Tim Patterson. It lists him as a panelist, but anyway, he must be doing something else.
Yeah, just accents on
Uh,
mute, so.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think Tim had some issues with Zoom earlier, and so he might just be able to listen in, but
Okay.
he did mention that he is willing and accepting of the committee's conditions.
Okay, great.
Okay.
So do we want to say reduce or remove
I'd say
or
remove.
eliminate the
Yeah.
concrete pad by the garage as well?
Yeah.
And remove the concrete pad by the utility room?
That one, I think it should just be reduced to like
Reduced.
the minimum depth for a landing, like 3 feet deep,
Mm-hmm.
because there is a door there.
Is that for the purpose of the tree?
Yeah.
Well, if it can't be saved, then,
If it can't be saved, I'm okay with it remaining the way it
Okay.
is.
okay.
Okay. All right, remove concrete pad, okay. All right, anything else so far? I have reviewed the arborist report to see if the cypress by the utility room can remain, investigate reducing concrete pad by the utility room to preserve the tree. remove the concrete pad by the garage. All drawings required to be scalable for building permit and require either a 6-foot fence extending the length of the garage or obscured glass on the garage windows for privacy. Anything else?
I think that's it.
I think that covers it.
Okay, we should take this to a vote. Are we ready?
Yeah.
Okay, I propose to recommend approval for PLN 2019000362 based on our conditions and findings.
I'll second that.
Okay, I will take a roll call. Beverly Garrity,
Yes,
Rebecca Catkin,
Yes.
Katie Kostyuk.
Yes.
Okay, project approved.
all right, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, I pass the chair to Mark Stegner for the next project, and Katie Kostyuk will be leaving the meeting for this project. Katie, do you want me to text you when this project is over?
Yeah, if you can text me when it's over, that's great.
Okay, great.
Okay,
All right,
thank you. I'll be back.
everyone. And thank you to the applicant.
All right, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Yes.
I see Summer Burleson, senior planner is on the line at Summer. I have also promoted Mr. Tim Pond to panelist. Is there anyone else you would like me to promote to panelists? Are you aware of any?
Is it Tim Pond for item 3?
I was going to say, I don't think Tim Pond is for item 2.
Okay,
And
oh,
I'm
sorry about
Yeah.
that.
also just
item
filling
two.
in for item 2, so sorry,
Okay,
I need to
about
double
that.
check.
Yeah, he's for item 3.
Okay. Is there anyone else on in the attendee list that's either a property owner or applicant?
I believe, is Jessica on the line?
Jessica?
Or Jennifer, I'm sorry. On behalf of the applicant? I'm not sure who.
I see Jennifer
NG,
McKeel.
I believe so.
Figure it out. Is everybody there? I'm sorry, I dashed off for a second.
And I just promoted Jaya. Sorry if I pronounced him wrong. That's the property owner. That's listed as a property owner. And is there anyone
Got it.
else in the project team?
Not that I am aware of.
Okay. And now we may begin.
Okay, well, this is for Moss Beach, 330 owner Jaya Kamath and Suresha Babu. Sorry if I badgered that.
Hey, we just lost our Zoom connection and it just came back. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened. Do you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. All righty. My name is Jaya Kamath, and we would like to thank the Coastside Design Review Committee for considering our proposed design of a 2-story single-family residence in Moss Beach for approval. My husband Suresh and I are both long-term residents in San Francisco Bay Area. We moved here 22 years ago from Chicago, and we live in Los Altos. We have a daughter, 19, who's a sophomore in college. We spent a year or so looking for places where we want to retire, and particularly a place close to the ocean. And in our search, we came across this lovely lot in Moss Beach. It was perfect in all aspects: beautiful cypress trees, ocean nearby, protected marine habitat just steps away from us, quiet streets, and a welcoming neighborhood. We are excited about building a home here that we will retire to, and the design reflects our choices. keep the trees, keep the footprint small, make the home fit as naturally into the environment as possible. We hope the design being presented to you has captured this well. We look forward to the day where we can be part of this Moss Beach community. Thank you.
And thank you too. Is somebody gonna walk through the description of this? You have a representative?
Yes, that'll be me. I'm Jennifer McKeel. I'm presenting this project today.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Good afternoon, everybody. Yes, I'm going to start by reading a quick introduction and then just highlighting some of the design aspects of the house. Let me share some graphics as I do this, just so that you all can have visuals as I pass along some of the design aspects. The proposed two-story single-family home is on an undeveloped flat parcel with 5 significant Monterey cypress trees currently. One of the Monterey cypress trees on Nevada Avenue only has a few live limbs, and it has been recommended by an arborist for removal. The color palette of the home utilizes natural wood accents for warmth, along with a sophisticated medium and dark grays that blend with the natural bluffs setting. Stone accents at the front and rear of the home balance the design with natural texture and provide a tangible, rooted connection to the earth. The black roof and windows provide contrast and complement the exterior colors of the home. Attention has been paid to the design guides, providing articulation, texture, and massing that reduce the apparent scale of the residence. And I am just going to quickly go through some of those design aspects that have been crafted into the home in order to meet the design guidelines. And we're going to start with, let me move, sorry guys, let me move this so that I can move about the drawings. So we're going to start with the site itself. The way the house is sited on the property, we have a large 20-foot setback to the south. We have a 10-foot setback to the side, and this along Nevada Avenue here to the west. This is where the Monterey cypress trees are located. The bigger setback here was, taken advantage of just so that we can leave lots of room for both the root systems and the limbs of these trees. Just so I'm being clear, I mentioned that the one tree has been recommended for removal. That is this tree right here on the north side of the property. In terms of privacy measures that have been taken, the attention has been paid to ensure that windows do not impact the privacy of the homes that are immediately adjacent to this property at 355 Nevada Avenue and 10 Ellendale Street. Both homes have garages that face this property. The home at 10 Ellendale Street has one garage window and a side entrance door facing the proposed home. That's on this side of the property. And the home at 355 Nevada Avenue has 2 small windows offset from the proposed home with high sills and screening from the 44-inch pine in the northwest corner. And we're talking about the property that is to the north side of our property. At this point, I'm going to flip over to some images as we begin to discuss scale and articulation of the elevations. The scale of the neighborhood is predominantly 2-story homes with an eclectic mix of architectural styles. The style that's being proposed here is a farmhouse style. And so in terms of scale, we're in keeping with what's present in the neighborhood already. And with an eclectic mix of styles in the neighborhood, the farmhouse style, mixes well into the vernacular of the neighborhood that's already existing. Regarding facade articulation, I can also, sorry, I know that I'm sort of flipping back and forth, but I want to show both the elevations and these colored renderings of the house just to give you a better idea of both the depth and dimension of the facades, but also the mix of materials, color, and just the play of the elevations in order to give us the dimension that the guidelines is wishing us to achieve. So you can see that we have changes in material, texture, color on the building. If I flip back to the elevations, we've got a palette of materials on the building that ranges from stone to board and batten to hardy plank, and you can see the colors that have been incorporated as well. If I flip back to this image for just a minute, we do have a front porch that faces Nevada Street. You can see how that's been framed with wood timber elements to add yet another layer of detail and materiality to the project. Just a couple other elements that help add more articulation and depth to the facades. We have this element here, this vertical element that is an actual expression. It protrudes slightly from the elevation to give a little added depth. And then as we go around the elevations, and I'll point out just a couple specific examples, we have some shed roofs that are functional. They protect doors so that you step out and you don't get wet, but they also provide, again, extra dimension on the elevations. They also help to break up the mass of the building so that we're getting first floor and second floor articulation in the buildings. In terms of materials, I've already addressed this just a little bit, but we have a palette of materials that's first in keeping with the farmhouse style of the house. And we also have darker colors incorporated into the material palette that are darker to reduce glare, but they also complement the natural setting in which this house is going to be built. In terms of roof lines, you can see that there's been a lot of effort made to break up the roof lines. So we do have primary and secondary roof forms here. You can see that on every elevation, there's been an effort to break down the roof form so that it's just not one monolithic roof covering the house. And in terms of, materials and colors, again, we're going with a warm, muted color palette. And the stone, the timber, the natural materials are meant to blend in with the natural surroundings and also help to reduce the mass of the structure. And so, yes, what you're looking at right now, these are the 4 elevations for the building. And I will actually use these to just kind of quickly take you on a tour around the elevations, and then I will open it up for questions and discussion. But this is the Nevada Street elevation. As we just talked about, there's many elements here providing depth and expression to this elevation. This is the elevation with the Monterey cypress trees. You can see them here represented in this particular drawing. We're starting to go around to the southwest, and you're getting to see a little bit of the Ellendale elevation now. We're going to turn the corner in just a moment. You will see the garage element, the driveway, and a design element about that particular side of the house. And I'll change the image as I'm talking about it. The garage was placed here because there's an existing curb cut on Ellendale Street that the house is looking to utilize. And so that drove the placement of where the garage is on this house. As we go around the corner, you can see that garage. You can see some of the smaller shed roofs that I'm talking about to help break up larger elevations. You can also see the mix of materials on this side. And, we've got the stone, we've got the wood, we've got the hardy plank, and then you have the darker windows and railings that add that contrast and pop to the elevations. As we go around, this is the garage that's off of Ellendale Street. As we go around, this is technically the back elevation. So this is our backyard. Again, garage is located right here. You can see again how the elevation has been broken up so that we don't have just one long facade there. You can see how there's a mix of materials. There's depth playing into this elevation. And then lastly, I'll flip all the way around. This starts to get all the way around the back. You see the north elevation of the house over here. Again, you can see the mix of materials, the changing of the roof line. And then I'm just going to quickly go back to the very first image in this package so that we can finish the tour around the building. You can further see the north elevation here. Again, the mix of the materials, the incorporation of different roof lines, different forms, and the just general composition in order to meet the guidelines which indicate that we need to provide a variety in order to be good neighbors and mix into the vernacular of the neighborhood. So with that, I'll open it up for questions.
Actually, I don't have any questions for you in particular. Rebecca, do you?
Yeah, I just have a couple of questions. One is just, do we have a spec for the garage door and or for the front door?
The garage door is going to be a custom wood garage door. So no, we have no spec for that at this time.
Okay, so we would just, I guess maybe condition that, can I see the elevation of it? Yeah, that the style be carriage style, divided lights at the top, matching the existing elevation.
Correct. Yeah, we're planning a craftsman style to match the overall feel and the style of the elevations.
And then I also had a question, and it may just be a discrepancy in the rendering, but if you could maybe pull up the rendering about where the, yes, that's perfect, where the timber elements are framing the entry, I guess. And this is something we can go through in discussion. Yeah, this is a perfect view. So it looks like there's a timber vertical on either side of the entry. And then there's a timber vertical, which almost looks like a corner board on the left. Yeah, right there. And so then that makes me want a corner board on the far right-hand corner in this image, or that feels a little bit unbalanced. And I'm not sure if that is the same as what's shown in the elevations. I assume the elevations are maybe more accurate than the rendering, as these things sometimes go. Is that, no, it's hard to see because of the, right, see on the, well, I guess there's none of those corner boards. So I was looking just for a little bit more clarity around that, what that timber element is and where it extends to. Because it also, yeah, it almost looks like it's kind of a belly band on this one side.
Yeah, so let me jump back to this for a moment and try to touch on it. Yeah, so what we're showing here are wood elements that are really meant to just frame the entry here. Those, but as you've pointed out, that because they sort of engage with the elevation, they can be removed.
Well, we can get to that at the discussion point. I like the inclusion of timber elements, but can you go around 360 and we can just see where they appear on all sides? This does wrap to the little roof form on this side.
Correct. So the horizontal wood band does wrap the elevation.
And then do we have a 3D of the backside also, if we just keep going around?
Yes. No, I'll just keep panning around and you tell me when to stop.
It's on all sides. It's on all sides, not at that vertical. Okay, got it. I'll come back to it in discussion then, but I think that is it for clarifying. I have a few more things in discussion, but we can open it up to public comment first.
So we're good. So we're going to go into discussion right now.
Or are there public comments?
Oh, is there public? Yeah, I'm sorry. You're right. There is public comments, and I don't know if is that person.
Okay.
I think she's chimed in a few times already.
Yeah, so we're now opening public comments for item 2. The public correspondence for project received prior to the meeting has been uploaded to the meeting page on the county planning webpage and forwarded to the CDRC. And now I'll summarize public comments from Ms. Mary Lorenas, as she may not be present this meeting. She asserts that the cypress tree shall be removed, shall be replaced with native and drought tolerant species. And all lighting fixtures shall be reset as essential. And yeah, give me. And now I'll ask those members of the public who wish to comment to click the raise hand function feature to raise your hand to speak on that agenda item. I'll lower your hand after you speak. Those joining by telephone can press *9 to raise and unraise your hand. Press *6 will unmute or mute your microphone once you are given permission to speak. I see 2 hands raised. Maureen, please accept this request to speak. Unmute your microphone and begin speaking. Please begin by stating your name, address, and email address for the record.
Hi, it's Maureen McAvoy, and my address is 355 Nevada Avenue, right next door. And my email address is mdmcevoy2002@yahoo.com.
Okay, thank you. You may begin speaking.
Well, it's a beautiful house, nicely done. My main concern is that the windows there on, actually it's the south side of the house that face my house are floor to ceiling, wall to wall windows. And there is no protection there. That tree does not offer any protection from there except for the trunk. And it's a dark sky neighborhood. And I'm just thinking if there's a light on in that house, our backyards, our rooms, they're going to be lit up by that. And I'm wondering if we can have some consideration to reduce the window openings there or plant some trees closer to the fence to offer that privacy.
Okay.
Jennifer, are you able to show the view that has the full length windows? Is that?
Yes.
It's on the side with the spiral staircase. Yeah, there you go.
Uh-huh.
Now, and also those insignificant windows that you mentioned on my house, the one is the bathroom window for the master bedroom upstairs, and the other is my kitchen window that I am in probably 60% of every day. And it's directly across from those windows.
Okay, thank you. Jennifer, would you mind pulling up the second floor plan also, if you're the one sharing screen?
And it also overlooks our deck. Our upper deck and lower deck.
Okay, so this is the sunroom. Okay, thanks. Maureen, thank you for your comments. I think that Mark and I will probably take that up in the discussion period to talk about ways that we might be able to address that.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Would it be possible for Maureen to point out where her windows are in relation to this element so that we could just be more sensitive in the design?
How can I do that?
Are they, if you look at the sunroom, let's take the center of the sunroom. If we're looking at the upper wall of the sunroom, that's the side which faces your house, right?
Correct.
So are your windows directly across from the middle of the sunroom? The left?
They'd
right?
probably be directly across from the letter G.
From grid line G.
Yeah.
Okay. So that area is of more concern than the other side
I'm
where the
guessing.
staircase is.
Here, this may also be of an assistance. We can look at the site plan.
Oh, great.
Much better. Yeah.
So are either of the windows we're talking about above your garage, or they're at the area that says existing two-story residence?
So my windows look out directly to that cypress tree.
And are the rooms in question, are any of those rooms above the garage?
The one bathroom is
The
upstairs.
bathroom is above the garage. Okay, that's helpful. Thank you. Mark, should we keep talking about this issue now, or do we wait until?
I think there's another,
Is there another person who wants to comment?
There are two more people.
Okay, well, let's hear from everyone and then we'll try to circle back and make sure we address everyone.
Maureen,
Okay.
I'll put you on mute and I'll call the next person.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and the next person I see here on the list who has raised her hand is Mary Lorenas. So Laurie, please accept this request. Unmute your microphone and begin speaking. Please begin by stating your name, address, and email address for the record. Hey, Mary, I just gave you I just allowed you to unmute. Please unmute yourself and you may begin speaking after you unmute yourself.
Okay, now can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yes.
we can hear you now, Mary.
All right, so thank you for allowing me to speak today on this project. It does appear to be a rather lovely two-story house. I do have some concerns. I did submit a letter that you briefly went over, but there's a lot more information in that letter. So I need to read out those directly, my concerns.
Hey, Mary, sorry to interrupt. Can you please state your name, address, and email address for the record?
Yes, Mary Lorenas, Larenas, email address mnlarenas@gmail.com. I live at 301 Nevada Avenue in Moss Beach. My husband and I are 3 houses to the south of the proposed project. So first of all, on the project scope, page 1, it states that I see no trees are proposed for removal. Now I hear that there is a tree that is proposed to be removed. So there is an inconsistency here. I'm concerned that these small inconsistencies, if not caught now, will be somehow grandfathered in later on. So please make sure the actual plans reflect the reality. These trees are really important for the neighborhood because they do block the noise from Highway 1, and they do provide bird habitat, and they do keep the neighborhood looking much more lush and more natural as opposed to just a straight neighborhood of roof lines and houses. The landscape plans call for non-natives. I request that you please consider native drought tolerant plants. I think this is actually somewhere in the recommendations for landscaping for the coast.
Am I allowed to respond to these, or is there going to be a time for that?
yes, there'll be a time for that.
Thank you.
Regarding the exterior lighting, there are some wall sconces, these 10-inch Goodyear LED barn light with traditional arm matte finish, dark sky compliant or similar. These lights actually stick out. They stick off the exterior of the house. So in some ways they effectively act as if there's 2 lights because they will shine out directly in front of the house, say, and also to the side. If these are made of metal, I guarantee you they will be rusted within a year. So I strongly request that these lights be changed to something that is more recessed into the house, the side of the building, that will point directly down onto the property and will not reflect into neighboring property or off the property line, that they will not reflect into neighboring property windows. This type of lighting is far more keeping in with the intentions of dark sky and are much less intrusive to the neighborhood. I also count what I believe are maybe 15 exterior lights, and I question whether this is really necessary. If all those lights are turned on, this house is going to be lit up like a Christmas tree, and that is definitely not in keeping with our neighborhood. We have a very quiet, dark sky neighborhood, and this number of lights is not consistent with that. Also, I'm concerned about the fact that the spiral staircase at the rear of the residence, does this spiral staircase actually meet with building and safety fire codes? Is it allowable? Also, if it's made of metal, it's going to rust. So if it is allowable, you may want to reconsider what it's made out of. This house will be built within 75 feet or so of Sunshine Valley or Deans Creek, which leads directly into the James Fitzgerald Marine Reserve, which is a marine protected environment. Any runoff from this roof line and from the property, I believe, must be contained on the property to prevent any pollution going into the marine reserve. I noticed that there is a detention basement located at the rear of the house that would be adjacent to Maureen's house. My concern is this detention area, if it is there to contain all runoff water from the property, will this in any way impact neighboring homes? Like, will this overflow with water and therefore have an impact on neighboring homes' property? Or
I can address that one if you want.
not yet. And
okay.
also and I'm concerned about the roots being cut from the cypress trees and disturbed by the building project. It says that even a 2-inch root will actually be sort of removed, handheld removal, and packed in burlap to protect it. But if you're going to start chopping into putting in detention basements and putting in all this fencing, how are you going to protect those roots for the cypress trees that already exist on the property? And also, I noticed when you brought up the first plans, you do not show the largest cypress tree, which is at the rear of the property towards the ocean. So currently there are 5 cypress trees on this property. And it's that one. You just put your arrow on it.
So there appear to be 5 cypress trees on this map, on this plan.
Okay, I just didn't see it when you brought up your views. I think your windows are way overkill. Again, if all your curtains are open and your lights are on in that house, I think you really need to consider what that's going to look like to the neighbors. I don't know if the fence height is legal that faces Nevada Avenue. I think if you want to do it for 6 feet, I don't know if you can legally do that. Also, I understand that the owners are going to plan on retiring. They live in Los Altos. They want to retire and they're building a retirement house. I don't know if they're aware of the fact that the house right next to them and right across Ellendale, both of those are currently VRBOs. And that's far too many VRBOs for that one corner. So just to be aware, if this house is built and turns into a vacation rental, that means 3 vacation rentals on that one corner. And this will not be much appreciated by the neighbors. So I think
Thank you, Mary.
that's all my questions. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And now we have the last person who has his hand raised.
I believe you mean me, Glenn.
Oh, Okay. You didn't raise your hand, but yeah, please, please.
No,
begin
I
speaking
have
and,
had I have had my hand raised for quite a while.
Okay, and please state your name, address, and email address for the record.
My name is Nori Gerardo Leitz. My address is 263 Nevada Avenue. My email address is ngleitz, LIETZ, @hbs.edu. Some of the comments have already been made, so I'll be succinct. Again, I agree, you know, the design of the house is lovely. I went through this entire process several years ago with respect to my house that I rebuilt at 263 Nevada Avenue. And I would ask that the same standards would apply to this house. One, the color of the house is way too dark for the standards that are generally applied. Number two, the roof is a black roof, which is also considered non-environmentally protective because it doesn't reflect back the light. So they need to change the color of the roof. Three, I would echo Maureen's comments. You know, I think we all have to be respectful of everybody's privacy. And I'm sorry, Jennifer, and I forgot your last name. You kept mixing up north versus south. This is the south side of the house. And the views directly impinge on the privacy of my neighbor, and you need to fix the windows. The next thing, the tree number 5, which Mary Lorenas alluded to, it is not shown in any of the renderings. So I just want to make sure that that tree is preserved. And I don't know why that would not be in the renderings, because it is a significant tree. And with respect to the fences, the setback rules that have been imposed on me are very clear. Within certain distances, it's 4 feet, and beyond that, it's 6 feet, but it's a very significant distance from the frontline street, which would impact the Nevada Avenue fence line, as shown in your renderings. And all that I asked is that the same rules that were applied to me when I built my house be applied to this one. And to take into account, and by the way, I have no objection to the square footage. It's my understanding there's no variance required. I have no objection to the house being built. I would echo Mary Lorenas's comments, though, that if it's the intention of these builders to make it a VRBO, I will strenuously object to that, because there are, as she's correctly stated, just on that corner for VRBOs, but there's, go down a block and there's, others. And we do not want to change the configuration of this neighborhood. So I'm putting the owners, who are, I presume, on this call, notice that at the next hearing, because I don't understand that it is the Design and Review Committee's purview to make this decision. But at the next hearing, I'm going to ask for a condition that this not be used as a rental VRBO or the equivalent Airbnb house, because that will destroy the character of this neighborhood. It's already been impacted by how much is already going on. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And now we have the last one more person who would like to speak. So Jim, please accept this request and unmute your microphone and begin speaking. Please begin by stating your name, address, and email address for the record.
Thanks very much. I am Jim Scheinberg. I am the resident across the street, across Ellendale at 401 Nevada. My email address is jim.scheinberg, SCHEINBERG @ like the direction north, pier.com. I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I also will echo that the design looks beautiful, and look forward to having this home as a neighboring home, as well as having you as my neighbors. So you seem like very nice people, and we look forward to getting to know you. I'm going to echo just a couple of comments, but with a little bit more specificity of the lighting that's being proposed for the property. We do have a new neighbor just to the west of this proposed location, and they have two sconces that face the street on Ellendale, and those lights, were incredibly intrusive in and of themselves when that new neighbor moved in. They have since, just through their own behavior, limited the amount of exposure, but really changed the characteristic of the dark skies that we have in the neighborhood, just to the exposure that's directly across the street. And so my house is directly across from the garage, and the deck with, I believe it's the kitchen, and I would assume a great room at the second floor. There are 5 sconces on that elevation. And so I would also strongly urge maybe a readdressing of the way you're going to light your property, maybe bringing lights down at ground level, behind fences, things along those lines, and keeping the amount of lighting that's going to be on the facade of your building, or potentially creating light trespass at a minimum. The comment that Maureen, I think, appropriately made about the windows to the south elevation, peering directly into her property, bathrooms, etc. The same are true of the second story windows that are attached to the balcony on the north elevation. So this would be on the Ellendale side of the house. Those windows, and you can see them if you click through to one of the garage facing photos, or I should say renderings, rather large windows again, and those will look directly into 2 bedrooms of ours, as well as our kitchen and our living room and our decks and our backyard. And so a lot of exposure there. I would also just encourage, just because I reviewed the aerial of your design, and I do know the view sight lines from the neighborhood, possibly bringing one of those large 3 windows around the corner from that location, because you do have an ocean view that is going to the north and the west, and you would be able to, I think, increase that view by minimizing the amount of windows that are facing directly to the north across Ellendale, potentially reducing the exposure and privacy issues with inside of our property. Let's see if there was anything else. No, that's largely it. Just for comment, I'm a full-time resident at my location. I think that there was a reference to my home. We occasionally Airbnb our home when we're out of town on vacation, but I'm a full-time resident at 401 Nevada Avenue.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Jim. So I have now called upon all raised hands for speaking on this item. For those on Zoom, are there any other persons who wish to speak on this item number 1? If so, I will provide a few more seconds in case there are others who would like to raise their hand to speak on this item. As a reminder, for those joining by phone, please press *9 to raise your hand. Okay, there are no more raised hands for this item. Please indicate if you would like to close public comment.
Oh, yeah, I'd like to close public comments and go into discussion.
Okay. Mark, do you want to start, or shall I?
That's a big list.
Yeah, I've got some notes though.
Okay, yes, please, you start.
All right. can we start, and are you still, Jennifer, can you take us around the elevations and show us both the north facing windows that Jim mentioned and the windows that we were looking at previously?
Yes. Are we going to have an opportunity to go down the list and discuss the issues that were brought up?
Yeah, let's talk about them all. I've got glass as the first one on my list, so
Okay.
I thought we would start there. So the west facing windows are the ones that were identified first, and the north facing windows, the three in the center over the board and batten, what are those key to in the plan? Isn't it, yeah, on the upper left hand is the north elevation. And
Oh, that's the hallway or the entranceway.
this is, so the ones that you just had your mouse on, right, and then these ones are entryway and the other ones are still the sunroom?
This is the sunroom.
Right.
These are the stairs.
The stairs. So the windows at the stairs are, can we see how high those are above the landing? Are those primarily letting light in, or is there view there? They look like they're coming down to the ground, but if they're at the stairs, the stair landing is probably below them, and
It shows in the second. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull up the section for
Yeah,
you
here we
all. You
go.
can see it right here.
So there's no one's going to be able to stand right at those windows and be looking out them because they're going to be back at the remove of the top landing before they get there. Okay, that's helpful to me to understand it. I'm actually now realizing that maybe I've started with the thorniest issue, but okay. Maybe I would put it to Jennifer, if you want to respond or talk about how you as the applicant would be open to addressing the privacy concerns, I think primarily from the sunroom window.
Well, we would be open to planting on that side of the house in order to minimize view into the adjacent property. And to go back to the, sorry, I'm trying to go back to the site plan. Yeah, I wanted to, because this came up as well, that, you know, there currently is that Monterey cypress right here. It is shown on the plan, but we would be, you know, willing to look at additional planning here to provide screening to the adjacent property. I also wanted to point out that when I kept referring to north, and I apologize if this created confusion, but you'll see down here that I was referring to Project North. That's how it's oriented on the page.
Okay. And so can we hear, is the neighbor on that side still on the line to speak to whether
Lorraine?
Whether adding tall plantings along that property line would address her concerns?
There we go. I got unmuted. Yes, that would be one suggestion, but I still think that the windows are excessive and would need to be addressed.
Okay, thanks. Can we see that elevation again, Jennifer?
Of course.
And what is the view out that orientation? Maybe the neighbors know.
I believe the view is like, to me, looking at it, I went out this site and I'm actually looking at it on Google. It's between the two houses is the Fitzgerald Marine Reserve.
Okay.
So they're capturing that whole look right there.
Okay.
I'm sure not intending to look at Lorraine's house, but
so
I don't, yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Mark, sorry.
I don't have a particular solution to it. I mean, removing windows isn't gonna, I don't really have anything to say about it except for, no.
So, okay, so my thoughts right off would be, I guess, are these triple hung windows? Or they're,
I'm sorry, I missed that.
are these triple hung windows? Or they're anyway, they're 3 lights tall, right? So things I could imagine might address neighbor concern would be removing the lowest bank of panes and or removing the left and right bank of panes just to change the extent
To
of.
give it some, well, it's not, I don't believe it's this facing, it's this, the windows that are over the staircase that I think would be.
I thought it was the windows over the staircase that Jim had concern about, but that it was the windows on this
Oh, I'm
side.
sorry, the exterior staircase.
Yeah,
Jim's was the interior stair, I believe.
right. Jim's concern was with the interior staircase. And over here, I mean, because it seems like the left side of this drawing is the area where there's the most overlap with the adjacent neighbor who I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah,
Was it Lauren?
maybe I'm backwards here.
So pulling the windows back from the corners, either going from 5 to 3 on that side, on the deck over the garages. Okay, right, yes. We'll come back to those. Thank you, Jen. So reducing the width or the height would be things we could look at to limit
Yeah.
the amount of glazing there, which would also address the light issue. I do think that conditioning plantings along that fence line is a good idea to help address that privacy concern. And I think that it could be sufficient. Do we want to look at the ones over the garage that just popped up in the chat?
Yeah.
These ones over the garage.
That's the ones that we'll be looking at across Ellendale to Jim's house.
Mhm. And then there's also a balcony there, so
Right.
there is a sort of second story social space. What room is that, Jennifer, that those 3, the door and side lights are in?
That is the, where is it? The kitchen area. It's right here.
Okay. All right, we may have to come back to this one, but Mark, do you have any other thoughts on that and how to address the neighbor concerns about the extent of glazing up there?
I don't have any immediate solutions to anything now. It's a substantial amount of windows for it's the best, it's the most protected area of a house when you're on that side from the consistent 12-mile-an-hour breeze that comes through there. So it seems like a wonderful place to have breakfast or whatever.
Yeah, I agree.
So it's really hard to say, like, well, just eliminate that deck, or whatever, but
Yeah, I
you could
agree.
minimize it. You could put I don't know, if you some kind of even wood screen. I can't picture anything that would be, that would fit in the architecture that would look
Right, no, I think what's there feels very appropriate architecturally. Maybe we should jump to some of the easier ones and come back to this one last. How do you feel?
Let's do lights.
Let's do lights. Let's reduce some of these exterior lights. Just this same east facade that we're looking on, I did notice that the doors downstairs have the one light to the right, which is sort of what's per the guidelines, and that this set upstairs has 2. I think, the guideline is 1 light per door, but I don't want to just end up suggesting that we pull one off so that there's an asymmetry. I'm wondering if any of those awnings can support can lights, and we could reduce the number of sconces by creating some can lights. And I also think that of course they already are called out this way, so I don't know if we can make it a condition, but yes, of course the lights need to be dark sky compliant, and I would be comfortable also conditioning that they're non-reflective.
If I may, I know there were lots of comments about the quantity of lights, the type of light. There are 13 lights on the home at the moment. And as you just identified, yes, there's one at each door, and then there's 2 instances on the house where the door exceeds a normal door size, and we're actually looking at one of them on this elevation, and so therefore there's 2. So there's 13 total. And I do want to say that the fixture that was selected is dark sky compliant, and they were chosen because they're architecturally fitting with the style of the home. The other thing that's important to note about the fixtures is that all exterior lights will be on a photocell and motion sensor as required by Title 24. So they'll only be illuminated when it's dark or when there's activity in the area.
Right. There is actually another light that would work well. I have a couple of comments about lights. First off, do you know offhand if those doors on the upper patio, if those appear to be 8-foot doors, are they 7, are they 6/8? Any idea?
They are 8 feet. Yes.
They look like to be 8 feet. So you can get your sconces down at 7 and put those lights or another sconce down at 7. Or there's a light that's very similar to the same profile as that, but it extends out just a little bit more, but it shines back at the house. So even if there's some illuminating that's coming out from underneath the lights, it's actually, it's pretty old, it's like the 30s, 40s sort of thing. Same sort of farmhouse. Anybody nod that they know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about.
Yes, I know what you're talking about.
So
I think dropping them to 7 is a great idea, aside from where they're over the garage doors, where they're
especially the garage doors. And then I think it looks like there's a light. I have to go bounce back to mine, but it looks like a 3-way on west elevation door underneath that patio. There's a light on each. I know one's for another door on the other side, but that could be handled by a 3-way and just one light in the area. 3-way switching. Right, so you get rid of one light there, or maybe twice. Is that true over on the north elevation as well?
Well, yeah, so the north and west have doors that are kind of coming out to the same area there.
Right. So with
So they each have a light, but potentially one light would suffice.
Right, just with a 3-way switch that goes between the 2 of them. So
Well, something that would need to be researched is I'm not certain if a 3-way switch works with the photocell and the motion sensor. So that would be an issue that we would need to explore.
They do. They work. I'm a builder.
Okay, no, thank you.
Okay.
So as far as lights go, I feel that I would be comfortable conditioning that lights adjacent to doors sconces adjacent to doors be dropped to 7 feet. And maybe putting a limit on the total number of sconces. I do think that there are places here where we have these awnings over doors where we could easily put a can light in.
It's a much nicer light if it was coming out of an awning.
So the door on the east elevation, the French doors on the east elevation,
right,
switch to a can light, and well, I mean, I'm not going to ask for that at the main entry on the south. I'm seeing Mary's note, but I think the motion sensors are required by code. So that's not something that we
actually, you can do an anatomical clock, which isn't that I might be saying the word wrong. That you don't have to have motion. There's lots of different things to be able to do so that they only come on at certain times. And
so I guess, yeah, I would like to suggest that the sconces, that the sconce at the east elevation first floor French door be changed to a downlight.
Yeah.
And I don't know on the north elevation, the light that we're seeing in side view, if that one can be changed to a downlight. Maybe we could condition that that be changed to a downlight or eliminated, and that the other lights, or that one of those two lights in that area be eliminated and that they be controlled together by three-way.
Yeah.
And that would drop us down 2 lights. On the west elevation, there's a sconce at the top of the spiral stair.
No.
I guess that one could just also come down to 7.
That one's kind of, yeah, and they should probably add some lighting to the stairs though, or that's kind of important light for those stairs.
Yeah,
That's
and if I could just
probably
speak
why
on
it's
that
up
for,
high. Yeah.
the eave at that location is not deep enough to provide a recessed light, and that's why it's a sconce.
Right.
Okay.
Now there could be some other choices of lights. I mean, another choice of light might be, unless you're just married, there is other old school lights out there that could benefit everybody.
Do you have the spec for the light that we can look at?
Do I? I'm sorry, I don't hear as well.
Jennifer? I was
Oh,
asking
I'm sorry,
you.
that was directed at me.
Yeah, the cut sheet.
I can show you this on the elevations.
I mean, that is matte and non-reflective and dark sky compliant, so I might
It
make
is
a
compliant.
suggestion.
It's just the problem. I mean, the biggest thing is everybody's got these LED lights now, and they're just so blue and so bright that, I mean, they disrupt my neighborhood too. That things that never used to bother me when people switch up to save energy. It's terrible.
Oh,
They're
and
getting
LED
better.
lights could be available at a lower color temperature.
Right.
Yeah, one of the features of the fixture is you're able to adjust the color temperature.
So if we could condition like a 2700 color temperature, that should be nice and warm, or no, or maybe 3000 maximum. I feel like that would capture it for me, a slight reduction, use of recessed lights where possible, dropping them to 7 feet, and then suggesting switching to this fixture like the one you suggested, Mark, which points back to the house. To my mind, that would capture the lighting concerns. The next thing on the list is the native plants. I do think that if we can go to that, the Anaxanthus it's not native, but it does very well here, and it is drought tolerant, and I think does great in this climate. Yeah, and I think the sedum feels really appropriate. The English lavender is maybe more a heavier water feeder. I might consider maybe replacing the lavender with something else, and this is not related to the neighborhood comments, but I was also, and I don't know how you feel about this, Mark, thinking that maybe having 5 plants as opposed to 3 plants would give us just a little more diversity.
I'm not familiar with most of the plants, sorry to say.
Yeah, if I could just make a quick comment on the plants that, the plants in the landscape plan are drought tolerant. These are plants that are used in similar climates, and they're known to thrive in drought conditions. And they bloom repeatedly and are encourage pollinators. And I think those were all reasons that these plants were selected. And all of these are commonly seen in nurseries in the area and are on, landscape plans for other projects in the area. So therefore, that's why they were implemented on this project.
And they're not invasive?
No, they are not invasive. I'm sorry if I didn't
and
say
I'm-
that. That's correct. They are not invasive.
I'm just back checking, and actually the English lavender is one of the most drought tolerant lavenders. So I think that these are all drought tolerant, non-invasive species, even though they're not natives. And I would still suggest adding a couple of plants to the palette personally for a little bit more diversity. And unless, I'm just gonna keep going, Mark, and interrupt me anytime. Okay?
No, just go right ahead.
All right, tree removal. Can we see the trees being removed?
Yes. Yes. Now on this point, I appreciate that it was brought to the attention that one of the documents, is uncoordinated with the current design. And the reason that is that no trees were originally planned for removal on this project. But again, the arborist, came out and surveyed existing conditions and recommended that the one cypress should be removed. And so, the conflicting document will be revised to note that. And regarding a replacement to the tree that's being removed, a replacement tree has not been provided because the tree that's being removed is a street tree in the right of way and is not on the property itself.
Can you point to the tree which is being removed?
Of course, yeah, it is this one up here.
And then are there, is there anything included in the submittal regarding hand digging around roots and things like that for the trees whose drip lines extend over the area of work?
Yes, forgive me, there's a note on the site plan here. We just have to find it.
Here we go, under trenching, maybe root pruning and trenching. Are these tree protection guidelines the ones that were recommended by your arborist?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
Yes, and actually, yeah, I also, in response to one of the comments earlier, I just wanted to note that on this site plan that we're looking at, we've got the tree protection zones noted here.
Okay. So we talked about non-reflective dark sky. We talked about cutting by hand. All of that is in there in the notes. There was a question about whether a 6-foot fence is legal at the front.
That's kind of,
I
that's
understand it is, but
yeah, it's a building department thing anyway. I mean, they're not going to pass something that's not approved by them, but because it must be drawn like that because the front of the property typically is the narrowest part, right?
That's
So
correct. This is considered the front.
Right.
I can weigh in on that, just to clarify. So it would be 4 feet is the maximum height along the front as well as along a street side within the setback area. So that 6-foot fence, if it's on that street side property line, it will need to be reduced to 4 feet maximum or bumped into the 10-foot street side setback.
okay. So we could go ahead and capture that in the conditions too, right?
Yes.
There was a concern about the black roof and the palette altogether. If we could go to maybe the 3D, I mean, personally, I don't feel that the house is very dark. I don't know how you feel, Mark, about that blue tone. Do we have an actual, is that a hardy board pre-finished color?
It doesn't necessarily appear what it be. Oh,
there it is, evening blue.
Oh, I see. It seems darker on that than the rendition. I don't necessarily think it's a dark color. Either. And as far as the black roof goes, basically every asphalt roof around here is black. So
yeah.
I mean,
and
I
there's
know
a lot
they
of
have
light color. The stone is quite light, which is there's a pretty significant amount of stone cover, and the board and batten is quite light.
Yeah, very. I'm trying to see what color that.
And I think as far as, the concern about the black roof not being reflective, maybe that's an energy consumption concern, but I think that if they're passing Title 24, which obviously that's a building thing, not a planning thing,
Right.
but,
Well, a really good thing about this, the metal panels and using those and it being black is there's now a product that rolls. There's a solar panel that rolls right in between them. So that there's not the solar panels aren't protruding from the top of the house anymore.
yeah, that's nice.
And it makes it really nice, and they would disappear because they're both black.
Mhm.
So I think that's a positive thing for them.
So I think that brings us back to
Windows.
just the windows, and the one point I had raised about wanting to look at the if you could go back to the 3D, wanting to look at where the timber elements are. I think, Mark, that what I would ask is just on this view, that the corner on the right also have a timber element.
I understand that.
Yeah, if the intent is that this band wraps all the way around and dives into those stone volumes, then I think I would just complete this facade with a 4th timber element at that corner.
Okay.
And if that is acceptable, I see Jennifer nodding, then I think we're back to windows.
I just wanted to bring out, just because I've been meaning to the whole time, I didn't think that there'd be so much opposition. I think it's a really nice house. The only things that I was thinking that is that the stone, I have a pet peeve with stucco stone, but I'm more in tune to seeing like a hard finished concrete stucco in place of the stone. I think would bring this farmhouse more to a contemporary sort of farmhouse.
When
And
you say stucco stone, is that the
well,
product
that's what I call that kind of stone. I call it
like stone veneer?
stone veneer. Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, unless it was actually stone, which it's not going to be, but
Wait,
yeah, I
what's
mean,
the
that's just
spec on that?
it's a personal preference.
Oh, I think that there was a spec on what that stone actually is up on that.
Yeah.
sheet.
It just, to me, it makes it look very busy. And I think that a steel troweled finished concrete in the same tone or the same value adds a lot more look to the
A stucco.
yeah.
I mean, I would certainly be comfortable putting that as a suggestion. I think it is kind of subjective, but
Yeah, that's all.
yeah, let's have your opinion voiced.
Yeah.
And so now we are back. Now we are really back to having to question. I wonder, Jennifer, if you have any suggestions aside from the tree planting along the fence line, which I think we do want to condition. And we can talk about whether that's tall vertical planting or whether that might also then be treated as a replacement, an opportunity for a replacement tree, even though the tree is not on the property. So. Oh, you're muted, Jennifer.
Thank you. Thank you. Just to review the strategies that you've already laid out, I believe one was just to reduce the amount of windows on that side. And then the second one is to perhaps delete. So these are fixed windows on the bottom and they are double hung on top. But was one of the suggestions to like eliminate perhaps the bottom row?
Yeah, like to bring up the sill height so that they're
Yeah.
not floor to ceiling.
Well, I mean, just from a design standpoint, if you were to get rid of these, it's not going to do much to the visibility to the or they're not adding, they're not adding anything in terms of what am I trying to say?
Privacy.
Sorry, my thoughts are jumbled
Your eyes
at the
aren't
moment.
down there. I understand. So you're looking at
I
the
guess
higher
what I'm
one.
trying to say is that they're not adding anything in terms of the experience of that space. So perhaps you could delete those and just essentially raise the sill height here. And that, I mean, as that is on both this elevation and this elevation, I mean, that's eliminating 8 windows and a considerable amount of area in terms of vision glass from those 2 elevations.
And I feel like that, although it's not where you're looking, there were also a lot of concerns mentioned about like if the lights are on in the house, then it's a lot of light spill out into other properties. So if the applicant is amenable to that, I feel like that would at least address that issue without
Entering.
having too much detriment to the design. Because yeah, Mark, I want to echo what you've said. I got so lost in getting through this whole list of mine that I didn't have the opportunity to say that I think it's a really beautiful and well-designed house. I just hope that we can sort of address these privacy and light pollution concerns without.
On the window concern and potential strategies, since we do have the owners online, I would love to get their thoughts on it.
You want to go?
Absolutely. Can you hear us? This is Suresh. Thank
Good.
you. I think, that's a great suggestion. Is getting, like you suggested, Jennifer, just getting rid of the bottom ones and on both the facades definitely makes a lot of sense. And, we are big believers in privacy too, and we'd love to, we really want to be great neighbors. We value privacy as much as the others value that. So we'll definitely make every effort. We'll plant more. And if there are other suggestions where, for example, we look at the corner windows, and if there's any way kind of to glaze that, make it non-visible, that's also something we can try. So we'll definitely take all these recommendations, make the part of the design. Does that?
Yeah, so it sounds to me like the owner and the applicant would be comfortable with the suggestion of, I think I would like to rephrase and say raising the sill height to preserve flexibility for the design team about whether it's still three, how it's divided up. I don't know if you have access to the cat there, Jennifer, if we know where the top of that window is, or if
I unfortunately don't have that on me at the moment, so no, I can't address that question.
Maybe, I don't know, Mark, if the guardrail is at 42 up there, then that looks like the divider between the center and bottom one is probably
30 or
30,
something. I mean, 18's regulation, and so that's 42. So yeah, I guess it looks like it's 30 or 30.
Okay, so we could say raising the sill height to maybe we should say raising the sill height to a minimum of 28 inches, just in case our measurement is too loose here.
Just a question. Is it possible to, in the letter phrase your recommendation, the consideration, that perhaps we could still consider the other way of actually reducing windows? Because the problem is that I feel like this just requires more study than we're able to give it right now. So I'm just, if you could, write it such that we'll look at reducing the windows, but perhaps, maybe after some consideration, it does make sense to remove an entire window.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
We could say to reduce the windows in this sunroom by, let's see,
that
by
may
a
be
percentage of area. Okay. So if we have one, this is 15, and we're talking about removing 5, that would be to remove it by 2/3, but if we did it this way, it would be
30%.
I think that I would even be comfortable to say reducing by 25 or 30% the amount of windows in that sunroom.
Would you say that actually the 2 windows on the right, I'm just saying, those are actually the biggest problem windows? The other 3 trying to look towards the ocean. It's just
it's true. Those are maybe less of a problem.
I mean, not like it'd be architecturally nice to not have them there, but
well, so maybe we just want to say on the west facade of the sunroom, reduce quantity of glazing by 25% minimum, and that would.
Thank you. No, I appreciate that flexibility. Yeah,
I think that would get us there, and then I would also condition tall plantings along the fence line on that side.
And the octagon window to be a round porthole window.
That's funny. I looked at this and I always do round windows, and I was like, octagon, interesting. I think you can write that as a suggestion, Mark.
All minor suggestions.
Do we want to look at the windows on the other side that were also brought up? I just really like those windows is the problem. What is the style of the railings there? Is it just wood pickets?
I kind of assumed it was gonna be metal like the staircase, but now it looks like looks like it's got larger posts in between.
Mhm.
So
It's a metal railing.
it is a metal railing.
Mhm.
I know that public comment's supposed to be over, but I couldn't help seeing kind of the chat a suggestion to maybe increase the opacity of that railing, which would be a way we could not have to talk about changing those doors. Is that something?
Well, I'm just trying to think of like a louvered railing, but get it a little bit higher too, or something like louvered, vertical louvers. So you're just looking down the street, not right across the street. And they don't have to, because it's only a 4-inch acceptable space. They would only have to be 4-inch or 3-inch.
And you're suggesting
Plate.
also maybe making that railing taller?
Well, make it taller so it's really so it's not you're not looming in. Yeah, just so it's, I mean, it's a private area. You're gonna be sitting out there in your bathrobe or whatever and slippers.
Well, so perhaps we could suggest condition, I'm trying to think what the language would be. Condition it. Oh, are you trying to speak? You're muted, Jaya. You're still muted.
I was trying to figure out what louvered meant.
Like, so if this is how the railings are now, louvered would be like twisted at an angle. But I don't know if those are round or they're square or rectangular, what the design is. So I'm trying to come up with language that might include louvered or otherwise reducing the transparency of the railing to provide more privacy for neighbors.
When I first looked at the house, I thought maybe it could be a closed railing.
It could.
It just might, that might do it for expense wise too, but it still have somebody standing inside the window. I mean, it's a patio.
Yeah.
You can't take, the front yard away from people either.
We could say, we could condition a louvered or closed railing, or a louvered or closed railing, or railing which is 50% more opaque than existing. I know, Glenn, let's get through it.
Just want
if that works for you, Mark, all the things we've just talked about, and if you feel like you have them captured for the writing of the letter of conditions, I personally feel like we've addressed a lot of these neighbor concerns, and we've beyond addressed my personal concerns, because I think it's a really beautiful and sensitive design.
But I'm not in this position very often, so I don't really know how to proceed with. I mean, it's kind of a lot if you make conditions to do it, or if you think that the person wants to come back, or you just offer that to them.
Yeah, so I guess let me just recap. I feel prepared to make a proposal to approve with the conditions discussed, which are lowering the sconces to 7 feet in the locations we discussed, and Mark, you and I could go over it in the letter, replacing like the sconce we're looking at right now by the French doors with a down light, and the one light at the other side, tall plantings on the side by the sunroom, the reduction of the area of the glazing on that one wall of the sunroom, and suggestions for a different light, and then the change in opacity of the railing. With those conditions, which is a bit of a list, but I think all fairly easily achieved. If the applicant would like us to move to a vote, I think that would be the next step, is we ask the applicant if they want to move to a vote.
Yes, we would like to move for a vote.
So, and Glenn, tell me if I'm doing this wrong. I'd like to make a motion to approve the project based on the conditions previously stated.
there a
second it if he says
Oh.
yes.
Okay, now do a roll call. Rebecca Ketkin,
Yes.
Mark Stackmeyer.
Yes.
Okay, project approved. Congratulations.
Okay, congratulations. Welcome to the neighborhood.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Um,
We appreciate that.
Yeah. Mark, if you take a first draft on the letter, I'll review and make
Oh,
sure
thank you
we
very much.
get lined up on all that language.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, now we have the next item is item 3 on the agenda. And now I will promote Brian and also the project architect to panelists.
And is Beverly, are you texting Katie to let her know to come back? Or should I?
Yeah, please ask Katie to come back.
Okay. I've got her on here.
Now, Brian and Tim, please let me know if there's anyone else on your team.
Not that I'm aware of. I think it's just myself and Tim.
Okay, sounds good. And then we're just waiting for Katie to come back.
I've just texted her that we're ready for her. And there she is.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Great. So, yes.
Yeah, Katie, did you happen to have a copy of the latest plan set from the applicant?
For item number 3?
I'm back.
Oh, I think it was for item number 4, the
Uh,
last one.
oh yeah, we only have 3 today.
Oh, it was the last item, so I apologize.
Yeah.
It was the continued.
Yeah, do
plan.
you need me to share my screen?
Yeah, if you could, I'm away from the computer and I don't
Sure.
have a copy in front of me.
Okay. All right,
Okay, are we ready?
I'm ready.
All right,
Tim,
congratulations.
If you're available.
Last item, Kim and Andrew Dellens, applicant Tin Pond. File number PLN 2021-00458. Location Stetson Street, Moss Beach. Assessors parcel number 0370842440. Consideration of a design review permit to allow the construction of a new 1,117 square foot single family residence with an 841 square foot partial basement and attached 441 square foot garage on a legal 5,098 square foot parcel, recorded certificate of compliance, PLN 2018-000297. The project involves no significant tree removal and only minor grading. The project is not appealable to the California Coastal Commission. The project was scheduled for continued consideration from the May 12th, 2022 meeting. Application deemed complete May 23rd, 2022. Project planner, Brian Albini, BALBINI @smc.org. Okay, Tim, will Tim be, oh, Tim, hi, great. Will you be presenting the response to the
Sure.
conclusions and findings? Go ahead.
I share my screen. You cannot share while the other participant is sharing. Can I share my screen?
Katie?
You gotta push it over to me. Uh-oh, what happened now?
Now you can start sharing.
Okay, so I did integrate some more. In the front, we added a, let me get the, oh wait, am I sharing? Can you see that screen?
Yes.
Doesn't have the bar around it. Hold on. Okay, Zoom. So I did bring in some more wood element with a trellis over the top. We got rid of the sculpture. We kind of added a kind of modern looking trellis there. It's going to have some brackets holding up this roof, which now comes out a little bit further and allows some sheltered entry. I had to include some of that into the floor area because it actually extends out more than 4 feet. Let's see, so let me go back here. On the
Sorry,
the
is there
major
a way to
concern-
get rid of that big gray bar? Are other people seeing that across their screen?
Yeah, I see that too. I was trying to minimize and maximize it to see if it was my computer.
Well, what's happening?
There's a big gray bar across the drawings.
Is it done
You
now?
see
Is
it?
it gone?
No.
Oh, yes,
Yes,
yes.
thank you.
Okay. So the major concern was with the roof form on the back of the building. You know, I did look at a lot of modern farmhouse and they do combine a lot of shed roof. So what I did was to keep the windows, I don't have the previous one up, but this was basically a shed before and I turned a hip on it. So this turns the corner and has a hip on it. So it basically matches on the side, it has this form to it. And on the other side, similarly, it has the same form in the front and back with the hip. Now, the owner really wanted to keep that window facing the beach out there. I added wood brackets and a little roof over the door and brought that window up a little bit, but I did kind of keep it there. So there was some talk before about putting some stuff across this window, but this is a great Western light. And as I've said before, this isn't really visible from anywhere. So that's basically what I've done. I don't know what else there was concern about, but I can pull up the list. Does somebody else have the list available? Or sorry,
Yeah, Unify Roof Form Designs, which
that
you're
was
planning.
about there. Yep.
The exterior color on the windows to match or coordinate closely with the black color of the garage door and the front door. Looks like you did that.
I agreed to that, yes.
Yeah, and add north arrow to plans. And it
So the
looks like
north
you
arrow is
did
on the
that.
site plans, but I don't typically put north arrow on the floor plans because it's not a true north on the floor plans, obviously. So on the site plan, I've indicated project north and north. Oops, wow, what happened?
Tim, for the purposes of your submittal and the orientation of all the sheets, I added north arrows.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I saw the north arrow.
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, there's different conventions, but I would typically just use whatever project north is on the plan sheets. But Brian, you put true north on the plan sheets?
Right, I carried the
That's
same
fine.
orientation across the
that's fine.
pages.
Yeah. Okay, then consider adding cedar detailing on the rear deck fascia. It looked like you did that.
Yep.
Tim, right?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Adding cedar roof architectural features to all gables. It looked like you did that. Adding contrasting color to deck rail. Did you do that?
I think we changed it to a cable rail. Oh God, I've got the wrong project up here for some reason.
So Tim, why don't you let Katie show the set that we're all looking at?
Okay.
Okay, so if you stop share, Katie can.
I don't need to stop. You guys can take it from me, I think, but I can stop
It
share.
doesn't
Okay,
wanna
there
let
you go.
me. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Tim.
All right, what sheet do you want me to go to, Beverly?
The contrasting color to the deck rail. I wasn't sure I saw that. There you go.
Well, we're actually adding, we changed it to a cable rail and I would just, it's gonna be a black cable rail, so.
Got it.
Are the posts and the top rail gonna be black also?
Yeah, black,
Okay,
or the wood, one or the other, I think.
is that called out somewhere?
No, but it looks like cable rail. I could certainly add a note there. The owners wanted cable rail because the glass is actually more obscured, I think, sometimes, so.
Well, I'll wait. I was gonna say.
Okay, then aligning the south elevation, right, we're there. basement
Yeah.
window and level 1 window and clear story window above. And
they're
the
aligned.
they're aligned, and the treatment of wall above the front door, it looks like you put a trellis in there too, pergola.
It's got 2 brackets within a trellis between them. So if you look, I think I have it on the side elevation. You
Yeah.
can just scroll up a little bit or down.
Right.
Extended that roof out a little bit on that face there to give the porch a little more cover. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that helps too, because there's also gonna be a little bit more shadow and contrast from that. It kind of gives more depth.
Okay, and that was it for the continuance. Okay, any questions, Rebecca and Katie?
No, the railing material was the only question I had, I think.
Yeah, is there public, are there any public comments?
If we don't have any more questions, we'll go into public comment and then into discussion. No more questions?
No.
Okay, Glenn, can we go into public questions, comments?
Per the chair, we're now opening public comments for item number 3. No public comments were received prior to the meeting, and I will ask those members of the public who wish to comment to click the raise hand function to raise your hand and speak on this agenda item. I'll lower your hand after you speak. Those joining by telephone can press *9 to raise and unraise your hand. Press *6 will mute or unmute your microphone once you're given permission to speak. I don't see any raised hands. For those on Zoom, are there any persons who wish to speak on this item number 3? If so, I will provide a few more seconds in case there are others who would like to raise their hand to speak on this item. As a reminder, for those joining by phone, please press *9 to raise your hand. Okay, I don't see any raised hands. Beverly, please indicate if you would like to close public comment.
I'd like to close public comment and we can go into discussion. Any discussion comments, Rebecca? Katie?
My only comment is I feel like the applicant has really successfully responded to the things that we brought up last time we saw this project, and I would advocate for the wood top rail on the cable rail, but that's a small, just a subjective.
Well, I like the idea of wood up there.
So suggest cedar cap.
Yeah.
To
the
railing.
To the railings, just to tie in that cedar a little bit more everywhere.
Okay.
Lumber futures are going way down right now.
So I agree with that, Rebecca. Both the excellent response to what was requested and the cedar and to suggest the cedar cap railing, when I forget who mentioned it while we were going around and looking at it, but it would be a good addition. Yeah, otherwise everything else seems like it has been satisfied.
Yep, I agree.
Before
Okay,
we
so
go on, if I can, I just want to say thank you. It's really nice to see comments so concisely and thoroughly addressed, and it makes it easy because we were kind of behind time.
Yeah, I'll second that.
yeah, Tim, you made this really easy. Thank you.
Well, after you got bloodied on the last one, I mean, that was.
Was it bad? Come on, you guys.
Why didn't anybody go after the spiral staircase? I mean, that was, but anyway.
Yeah. Somebody did actually, but.
Oh, they did mention that.
Yeah, in the-
That's good.
in the
That's gonna
letter.
be a rust bucket.
Yeah, yeah, that's what someone said. So, Glenn, I need to clarify, do we give this, is this for a recommendation or a decision?
It'll be a decision. There's no further permits.
It'll be a decision.
Sorry, I was on mute. So there will be a decision and that will be appealable to the plan commission.
Okay, so I propose that we approve this project.
I'll second that.
All right. And we take it to a vote, Glenn?
Okay, and yeah. Any member of the CRC like to make a motion?
I did,
Beverly just make a motion?
I did.
Yeah, I seconded it.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, I'll do roll call. Beverly Garrity,
Yes.
Rebecca Catton,
Yes.
Katie Kostyuk.
Yes.
Okay, project approved. Congratulations.
All right.
Thank you
Okay,
very much.
Tim,
Thank you.
Have a good weekend.
Congratulations.
you now win the award for the fastest.
Yeah.
That's
that
my
was
goal. That's my goal.
Yeah, I thought I was gonna have a fast one too.
good. So did I. How did it get to be 5:30? Thank you. Tim.
Man,
Put it on your business card, Tim.
No. I don't have cards or a website. The last thing I want is more work.
I hear you.
All right, well done, Tim. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Have a good day.
You bet.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great weekend.
Yeah, you too, Brian.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Tim.
Okay, I make a motion to leave the meeting.
second that.
Okay, then I'll take a roll call again. Rebecca Catton,
Yes.
Beverly Garrity,
Yes.
Katie Kostyuk.
Yes.
Okay, adjourn.
Thank you,
Glenn.
Glenn.
Thanks,
Thank you
everyone.
very much.
Thank
See you
you.
next month.
Great.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.